of hope as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua, and for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next few hours, designer and businessman Jeff Banks, and also former Labour Labour Minister, and MP Bill Rammell. All right, now listen, stay with me. Coming up in my niggle.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Yes, I'll be discussing how the government, who are now demanding that defence companies must agree to commit to fighting climate change before they can get a deal with the Ministry of Defence. I'll lay out my thoughts on this madness in my niggle at 4. And today, Arsenal fans and players are celebrating their Premier League title success on the streets of North London. We'll be live on the scene with our reporter to hear from jubilant supporters on this exciting day for the Gunners. Interesting, actually, because my son, he's just turned coats. He was Man U and now he's Arsenal. Interesting. Then in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is it irresponsible for Keir Starmer to make it easier to claim benefits?
But we must have a welfare system fit for the future, and the current model doesn't work. It desperately needs reform. It leaves people trapped.
And this comes as it has been revealed that the Prime Minister has been accused of watering down checks on benefit claimants to prevent the welfare system from collapsing. I mean, really, seriously. And in the next Great British Debate, I'm asking, is it... I've said that one already before, haven't I? Let's move on. So my poll is live on gbnews.com. Cast your vote. Do you think it's irresponsible for Keir Starmer to make it easier for people to claim benefits? And in the interview, joining me, actress Debbie Arnold, who will be discussing her life and career, as well as Carers Week, which is an annual campaign to raise awareness for challenges both unpaid and for paid carers in the face or in their roles. She'll be joining me just after 5. You won't want to miss that. So a day after Arsenal lost the Champions League final in heartbreaking fashion, hundreds of thousands of fans are lining the streets of North London to celebrate their Premier League title win. That makes no sense to me at all, I'll be honest. I'm joined in the studio by GBNews sports presenter Aidan McGee, who will clear everything up for me. So, what a guan, Aidan?
Look, OK, last night they'd already won the Premier League title the week before because Manchester City, their rivals, lost at Bournemouth, and so they gifted Arsenal the title, which they've been going for 22 years, and it was a huge thing for them to get over the line. Loads of their fans converged on the Emirates in the middle of last week to celebrate in the middle of the night. That happened, and then, of course, the crowning glory would have been the Champions League final last night. They went to Budapest, and they gave it their best shot. They really did. They were against PSG, Paris Saint-Germain of Paris. We saw some horrible scenes in Paris today. Fans last night, Paris Saint-Germain fans celebrating by smashing up Paris. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. But what you can see in front of you there is Arsenal fans celebrating the fact that they reached the Champions League final and they got the Premier League title, the coveted Premier League title, in the bag after so many years.
But they didn't play a match to win that, did they? They won by default.
What, the Premier League?
Yeah.
Last one. They played 38 matches. They played 38 matches. Oh, but this one, no, they played last night. They played in the Champions League final. As I said, they gave it a good go. You have to understand as well, PSG are an outstanding side. They've retained the trophy now. Very rare for a team to keep hold of the Champions League trophy like that. For Arsenal, it remains a bit of a bugbear for them. They've not won that trophy, the European trophy they've really wanted, and so they'll have to go for that again. But as you say, as you can see there in front of you, it hasn't dampened the mood of any of those supporters there. We've had Jack Carson live from on the ground there. We've had Chris Scudder joining us as well, and we've seen some fantastic scenes down the Holloway Road, Caledonia Road, Finsbury Park, and all the surrounding areas. It's been magnificent. Up to 1 million people are expected to be there today, but all clubs say that it's going to be up to 1 million. We don't know how many people there are in reality.
Is it just an Arsenal bus going through there? Was there? I thought there was a Spurs van as well.
Spurs van.
Right, revel them up.
No, you know what? Spurs had a massive parade last year when they won the Europa League. Bill Rammell down there said he's been struggling in the green room with watching this on TV, but nonetheless, nonetheless, look, we've seen some fantastic parades from different clubs down the years, and Arsenal are not to be left behind.
I have been struggling to watch it. I'm a die-hard Spurs fan. But I have to say, I secretly wanted Arsenal to win last night. Well, because I support English teams who are in the final of tournaments. And it would have meant, had they won, that English teams would have won all 3 European competitions this year, which would have been unprecedented.
Crystal Palace won the Conference League on Wednesday. Great thing for them. Their first entry into European football, full stop. And Aston Villa, of course, won the Europa League the week before, beating Freiburg. And that was their first European trophy in 44 years. So it's been a great year for English football in Europe. Just sad that Arsenal couldn't get it over the line last night, but I do think they'll be back.
Jeff Banks, do you support a particular football team?
Charlton Athletic.
Yes.
Yes. So I never have a problem with anything because Charlton never win anything.
I watched them at Selhurst Park back in the 80s when I was a little boy.
Yeah,
I covered you'll like this. Charlton's story of getting back to the Valley was amazing. They formed a political party and got involved in the Greenwich Borough Council elections back in 1990, and they got their club back there. It was absolutely extraordinary. It's never been done before or since in football, and that's Jeff can be proud of that, even though Charlton aren't celebrating today.
Well, I grew up in Catford, so Charlton was the...
Millwall as well.
It was either going to be Millwall or Charlton. Yes. I went for Charlton. And showing my old age, you know, I was a big fan of Sam Bartram.
Goalkeeper, yeah.
Goalkeeper.
But one of the adverts during that campaign was, Sam Bartram can't save Charlton this time, but you can. Vote Valley on May the 6th. And that's exactly what they did. That's how they got them back to the ground. And you know what? They're not the only fans who have suffered either. Arsenal have suffered in the last 22 years, big time. They've been close in so many different tournaments. They've spent big. It's not happened for them. But do those fans look unhappy there today? I'd say they look absolutely jubilant, Nana.
Yes, they do. They look happy. I mean, they've won something by default. They didn't win the other match. I guess you should be happy. It's better than losing and getting nothing. So, you know, I mean, I used to love football, to be honest with you. They used to call me...
Who was your team? Newcastle?
Well, they used to call me Eusebio, the Black Flash. That's what I was called, yeah. It's true. Yeah.
He was a player. He was
very good. Yeah, very good player.
Yeah.
So that's what
you must have been good.
I was, yes. Although my brother always put me in goal and then just kicked the ball at me. So I think they're actually trying to kill me.
I've been there.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's always good to see English teams doing well. I'll be honest.
Yes, it is. And look at the noise down there as well. I mean, we've seen the coach go through. 2 of the coaches go through. It was absolutely fantastic. And I've been there 10 times this season. They really did suffer because they lost at home to Man United in January, and it looks as if they were going to fall apart then. And they lost at home to Bournemouth as well in about March, I think it was. And look, Bournemouth are a good team, don't get me wrong, but if you're going to win titles, you've got to be beating them at home. Manchester City just couldn't walk through that door when Arsenal opened it for them. And having finished second 3 years in a row, the 3 seasons before that, they finally got it over the line, having spent, what, £250 million? But they spent it on decent players. And actually, they did it without proper strikers in their side. Gyökeres, Martinelli, Havertz. They're not the biggest array of strikers we've ever seen. If you think United did it in 2009 with Berbatov, Rooney, Tevez, and Rooney, I forgot one. Ronaldo.
I thought you were talking about food then. Ronaldo. You said Ronaldo.
They couldn't get it in the back of the net last night when it counted.
No, they couldn't. True, not after the 6th minute anyway, but never mind.
No, but it's all good. And so what happens after this? Is that the end of it?
I think this will go on until the small hours tonight. I really do. I mean, you'll start seeing the clearing of all the barriers because people have to work in the area. I know people who are going to be going to work there in the morning. They'll be hoping for a free route into the or clear route into the area via the underground, but it takes so much organising as well. Nana, Islington Council have to be consulted, the police, TfL, and if there are really 1 million people there, there'll be a good deal of mess to clean up as well. And these things can't just be thrown overnight. They've done very well with the notice they've had to get the kind of parade on. But they wanted it to be big because Tottenham's was massive last year. Man City had a massive one back in 2023. West Ham in 2023 as well when they won the Europa Conference League. They turned out well. And there'll be fans as well coming back from Budapest who were there last night. I would imagine that given I've seen the crowd fill out a little bit in the last hour, I wonder if some of those fans from Budapest will be coming in via Stansted and making their way into North London today to be part of it. It'd be wonderful if they could be part of both the match and the celebrations on the street as well, because that's what it's all about.
So now Arsenal at the top of the Premier League.
Yeah, they've won the Premier League. It starts again in August, but we've got the World Cup before that as well. Some of the players are going to have to pick themselves up. In fact, last night, of all those players on the pitch, including the PSG ones, I'd have thought near enough every one of them will be at the World Cup this summer because that's the level of the elite level you're talking about. Particularly the Arsenal players, the English players, are going to have to lift themselves up. I'd be a bit worried about Bukayo Saka. He's not playing well at the moment. He's showing signs of burnout. England has to depend on him.
How old is he?
He's 22, I believe, yeah.
He's quite young, isn't he?
Known as the start. Yeah, he is. Look, it doesn't mean he can't come back. In fact, Chris Scudder made a good point earlier on. He said, form is temporary, class is forever. Sometimes when a player really needs to produce, and they get to a big tournament, it brings out the best in them. So we'll see if that happens. Declan Rice was another one, captain last night, crestfallen having lost. But you know what? They've got to go again. Declan Rice has got to go again on June the 17th when they play when they play Croatia in Texas. And they're going to have to lift them up because the expectation will be even greater on England than it is on Arsenal. That looks big. That looks big there, Anna. Anna, sorry. But when it's England, that's the only thing that makes all of us go out into Tesco's and buy cheap barbecues. It's a different level of pressure altogether, and the weight of the world is going to be on their shoulders. That's for sure.
Tesco's, Asda's, or M&S.
They're all available, yeah. Lidl.
No, not Lidl. I'm joking. Aidan McGee, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Wow. All right, well, look, stay with us. Loads more still to come here on GB News. I've got my panel, Jeff Banks and Bill Rammell, joining me for all those debates. But right now, Keir Starmer has come under fire. Basically, he's planning to water down the checks on benefit claimants, as though we need that. So the welfare system continues to balloon under a record backlog of mental health cases, and Keir Starmer is planning to make it easier for people to claim. Now, officials are warning that the assessment system is at risk of complete collapse. So I guess the answer is to collapse it completely, as a surge in the new PIP claimants is driving mountain delays, with a record 3.9 million people now claiming benefit. Extraordinary, isn't it, really? Well, joining me, the politics and economics reporter at City AM, Mauricio Alencar. Mauricio, this sounds like the absolute wrong thing to do if you have a situation where there are too many people claiming benefits.
Yeah, so what's happening here is at the moment, when you're on disability payments, on the personal independence payment, there's a period of around 9 months to 2 years where your review is checked. And now that's going to be extended to around 4 to 6 years. The government says that actually it will make some savings from this because it basically means that it can, first of all, do more face-to-face checks. It can use all its resources to checking and making full checks. And also it won't have to keep sort of reviewing the same people who are on the disability benefits. Obviously, the critics will say, well, hang on a minute. If you're not checking people every 2 years regularly and they improve in that time and they're fit to work, then you will actually be spending more unnecessarily.
So hang on, let me get this straight. Can you just briefly repeat a bit of that then? So are you saying that it's good that he's doing this or bad that he's doing this?
Well, it's uncertain. I'm putting the government's perspective is that it's good, but at the same time we're having lots of little incremental welfare reforms. Some of these are coming under the shadows. Obviously, we're all going through this massive review on NEETs, on the young people out of work, as well as people on disability payments. And the government can put up their forecast, that's fine, but then they will have to face scrutiny on it. You know, I think there's two sides to this argument, where they might be able to use more resources to do more face-to-face checks, because at the moment those face-to-face checks are incredibly low, much lower than during the pandemic. But you know, what does that mean for the people who are not being reassessed, who might have got their disability payment and come on to disability payments and not being checked regularly? I think that's the point to sort of really highlight.
I get it, but if, for example, so he makes it easier for people to claim welfare, won't it simply increase the number of people claiming it? Because if you make it really easy, then lots more people will do it. And surely that's kind of the last thing you want. You actually want to make it more difficult so that people, the genuine people, will come through and go through the hoops that you want to spin for them to get through. Otherwise, you'll end up with loads of people just claiming it because they can.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to wait for months to see if the government is even going to do something to tighten the criteria. Obviously, last year there was a massive U-turn when the government seemed to want to do that, and obviously the Labour Party backbenchers revolted. And we're going through that review period right now to find out whether anything is going to change. The welfare bill is obviously going up hugely in big chunks every year, mostly through pension payments, but also through disability payments. You know, there's around we're paying about £26 billion a year on disability payments. That's projected to go up to £40 billion a year by the end of the decade. So, you know, we wonder why taxes are going up. I think there's some clear evidence there for why, you know, the pressures on public finances are really being squeezed.
But I'm OK with paying for pensions because I believe that the people who are getting them, many of them would have put into the system to support other people. Now, I get it that they're becoming a large group of people, but there is a social contract with these people that they'll get a pension and how that will roll. So I'm OK with that. What I'm not OK with are the number of young people claiming for anxiety and, you know, the last thing you'd want to do if you're anxious to stay at home and do nothing and just get money. And that is my issue with it. I don't mind paying money towards taxes to help people who are less fortunate or need it. But what irritates me is that we're dishing out to people who don't need it, and we're dishing out to people who are taking advantage of the system.
Exactly. There's a multi-layered thing, and there's obviously a lot of dilly-dallying going on around what we do with those some disability claimants. I think I'll just push back on the pension point, whereby obviously as an ageing population, the pressures on the ageing population does grow, and we do have a triple lock pension where if there is a huge inflation shock, pensioners win out over workers because their pension will rise by more than average wages across the country. So there is a constant fiscal pressures there, and the tax burden is at a sort of all-time high. The first step, I think the government actually recognises this, is to sort of look at the welfare bill and look at disability payments. Obviously, they're not taking any really drastic action. Tories and the Reform Party are looking at other measures. But I definitely think the second point there, as Jeremy Hunt was saying in the Sunday Times today, is to look at the pensions, as Tony Blair said last week, is to look at the pensions bill and how we make that sustainable and fair for pensioners as well.
Yeah, I get it. But, you know, I would make sure that people need the pension, so I might means test elements of it. But I still think that people who've paid in and the social contract is that they get a pension irrespective of how wealthy they are should get it. But maybe I would change rather than you getting it in line with inflation and, you know, whichever one is higher, because there are three things, aren't there? Rather than that, I'd probably maybe take that index-linked element out. But other than that, I do think that everyone should be entitled to the pension they've put into the system and they qualify, irrespective of how wealthy they are. They can choose to opt out if they want, but I don't know. Anyway, listen, I've got to say thank you very much, Mauricio Alencar. He's an economics reporter at City AM. And just a reminder, friends of GB News can vote in today's You Decide poll for free. Scan the QR code now, and I'm asking, is it irresponsible for Sir Keir Starmer to make it easier to claim benefits? Let me know what you think, and I'll bring you those results during the programme. But right now, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. £76,543.21 in tax-free cash could be yours. Here are the details.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. Imagine all the things you could do with that cash. Give the garden a glow up, max out on a new motor, or just make sure the coming year is your year. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny for a chance to win £76,543 and 21 in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. This is GB News. Coming up next, it's time for the Great British Debate. I'm asking, is it irresponsible for Sir Keir Starmer to make it easier to claim benefits? This is GB News.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on a BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Good afternoon. If you just tuned in, welcome on board. Yes, the bus, it's gone. It's gone. You'll be pleased to know. 21 minutes after 3 o'clock, it's still there, but I'm not going to go there again. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. And it's time now for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, is it irresponsible for Sir Keir Starmer to make it easier to claim benefits? Now, the Prime Minister has reportedly watered down checks on benefit claimants to prevent the welfare system from collapsing under a record backlog of mental health cases, with officials warning that the welfare assessment system is at risk of falling over. How about you give those people more jobs to people so they can assess it? That could be a way of getting more jobs. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is it irresponsible for Keir Starmer to make it easier for people to claim benefits? Well, joining me now is designer and businessman Jeff Banks, and also former Labour Minister and MP Bill Rammell. All right, then, I'm going to start with you, Bill Rammell, because a lot of people will look at this and say, if the system is collapsing, why would you make it easier? Because that will invite more people to come in even faster and exacerbate the situation.
There are some concerns, but let's give some context first of all. The system is not out of control. We spend about 2% less on welfare as a proportion of GDP today than we did in 2010. But, I think there are real and genuine concerns about disability benefit. When you've got 1 in 4 young people on disability benefit, I mean, that's wrong, and it's financially unsustainable. Now, this change, when you look at it, is driven by the numbers claiming, and the government says, and there is some logic to this, that the changes will save money. So these are people who are eligible, but are then having a bigger gap before they're tested again, but that will free up staff time, so there's more face-to-face interviews, which I think are critical in really getting at, are people genuinely eligible for benefit. But I think there are certainly concerns about the way this is presented. And I think the government needs to get on with administering real change. I mean, one of the hangovers from the last set of changes, I think, was a very positive element, that the health element of universal credit has been cut by 50% for new claimants in order to incentivise work. But the big thing we're waiting for is the Stephen Timms review that will report this autumn. And I hope coming out of that will be a tightening of the eligibility for personal independence payments.
But if you tighten the eligibility, but then you make wider the gap with which you do the checks, then all you do is end up with people who can stay on the benefits because it's 4 years and then they can do it for another 6. So people who can just languish on the benefits for a very long time without being re-checked, which currently I think they do checks every year. So if you're now stretching that out to 4 years and then offering another 6 years, then all you've done is you've enabled people to stay on benefits for longer, going unchecked.
Well, the real hurdle is that first check, and that will be in place. But what needs to come alongside this is real breaking down the barriers for people to work and incentives to work. And I very much hope that's going to come out of the Timms review to really help push people who can work into work. And, you know, we're talking later on about the Milburn review this week. His review, looking at young people, said 84% of them actually want to work. And the challenge is how you help them to do that.
All right, Chef Banks.
I think it's more of Keir Starmer bending to the backbenchers. About a year ago, he actually said that he was going to clamp down on welfare benefits. And under pressure, he's now actually buckled yet again. So I think it's just an indication of a weak Prime Minister. I take Bill's point, but when you actually look at it, we spend probably about 340 billion a year on welfare. That is equivalent to all the money that we actually collect in tax we spend on welfare. So this question of, like, PIP, why is it that it's gone up? It's mainly because of young people that are actually leaving school, leaving university, they can't get a job. They then, as an alternative, will actually claim that they're stressed or whatever, get signed off, and they join in. So all this hokum about let's solve the problem by actually moving when we reassess them, not in 9 months' time, but in 4 years' time or 6 years' time, that is putting a sticking plaster on it, and the problem isn't going away. That's going to stick. And that's actually going to lift the bill over 10 years by £46 billion. The saving that you actually make on staff that are being overstretched is 1.9 billion. That's the saving in staff time, as distinct from spending another 41 billion. To me, it's a nonsense. Weak Prime Minister, he's got to go.
Yeah, and it looks like he probably will, and he's really well. I don't know whether he's realised it or whether he's going to stay. He thinks he's going to stay, which I think is quite entertaining. But let's be honest, right? If the government think that that is the answer, if in order to save that one, however small amount of money they're going to save, surely the answer is actually to get more people employed to do the job of assessing people's claims. Then you put more people in work and more people assessing, and then to cope with the claims, and there is more chance of getting people off the benefits. I think you should actually give them the jobs and then actually give them incentives to get people off the benefits if they genuinely don't need to be on them. I don't mean to be cruel, but I just think, you know,
that's a bigger problem. That why is it, as a nation, it actually seems at the moment to be more fruitful not to work and claim all the universal credit by whatever wrangle you can, and we need to get away from that. But joined to that, if you have an incentive for people to go to work, there's got to be the work that they can actually do. And one of the big problems, which I think we're going to talk about later on, is unemployment in youth, because there simply isn't that kind of market there for youth employment at the moment. So you can understand why they get depressed. Why, you know, when you've done a degree at, say, Sheffield University, you leave. Sheffield was one of the great cities for steel industry.
Finest steel,
employed 60,000 people.
Yeah.
Last year, 3,000. You get a kid that leaves Sheffield University now, and they're hopelessly trying to get a job and failing. So you can understand why they get depressed and why, as an alternative, even if they can't fill shelves in supermarkets, they go on PIP and get the benefit of it.
I just think that the government are enabling it. Bill, do you not think that he's kind of enabling this behaviour, really? Because, you know, 4 years now they're saying, so we'll stretch it out. So it's just saying I come and claim benefits. I'm a student. I didn't really get the job I want. I think a lot of young people are, I think, a little bit too discerning when it comes to jobs. When I was young, I was a cleaner. I was this, I was that. I did everything I could.
I can relate to that.
I think they're a little bit too fussy and think that they got a degree in this, so I must get a degree in that. That's not the truth. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. But at the end of the day, he's facilitating it, isn't he, really?
I don't think he is. Seen in isolation, there may be an argument for that, but what needs to come along with it is a whole series of other recommendations that I think will be coming forward this autumn. But I hope when that happens, across the Labour Party, there is a consensus that 1 in 4 young people on disability benefits is just wrong. It's not in the country's interest. More importantly, it's not in their interests, and it's really, really critical.
Do you think perhaps young people should be banned from claiming certain benefits until they're a lot older? So I would say that if disability benefits, you actually have to have a genuine disability instead of. And when I say that, I mean, I'm sorry, but anxiety. I've got anxiety. I'm sure everyone's got anxiety. I don't think that's a valid reason for claiming benefits. And there are layers to things like ADHD as well, which actually some people with ADHD are excellent workers because they're so focused on one thing that they work really hard and they keep their focus on it, you know, and that's... You know, they might have attention deficit disorder, but they have
stressed every morning.
Exactly.
I wish I could claim.
You shouldn't be allowed to claim benefits for anxiety.
And the TIMS review has been going on for 9 months. It's going to report, I think, in September. And I hope one of the things that comes out of that is a tightening of the eligibility criteria. But to say a word in defence of young people, this is the generation who went through COVID and lockdown.
We all went through COVID.
Well, no, but I think one of the biggest mistakes of COVID was shutting the schools because it cut kids off from their peers, it cut them off from learning, and I think we're bearing some of the consequences.
I do agree that it has made an effect, but, you know, we can rebound. They're young, they've got quick minds, they should be able to try and get over it. The answer isn't to let them stay at home and pay the benefits and do exactly what we did in COVID. I think that's the absolute wrong answer.
I think that was one of the effects, Bill, but also the other thing, I think, is physical education, that they actually got used just sitting at home, being on a computer, looking at a screen. People that I'm talking to now that are employing young people, they're saying they're not equipped physically to do a job anymore. Well, that's another problem.
Well, we'll be talking more about that very soon, actually, so stay with us, because coming next this time for the Great British Debate, and I'm asking, does working in a vape shop make you a skilled worker? Yes, you'll hear the reasons I'm asking that, but first, your latest news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB newsroom. North London has been painted red as thousands of Arsenal fans have lined the streets to celebrate their club's Premier League win. Despite the Champions League defeat to Paris Saint-Germain last night, the crowd was in high spirits. Meanwhile, though, more than 200 people have been injured and around 400 arrested in clashes between fans and police across France. Nicola Sturgeon has said she's serving a sentence for a crime she didn't commit after her estranged husband admitted embezzling £400,000 from the SNP. In an interview with the BBC, the former SNP leader refused to apologise for the scandal and appeared emotional, describing gifts from Peter Murrell that turned out to have been purchased with stolen money. And the World Health Organization's chief has visited the centre of the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo after warning the virus is spreading faster than the response. Those are your headlines for now. I'll have more for you at 4 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update for the Met Office for GB News. The weather looks rather more unsettled, I'm afraid, across the UK over the coming week. We'll all start to see some outbreaks of rain at times and temperatures returning to the seasonal average. The pressure pattern sets the scene quite nicely. Low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK, starting to feed our area in from the west and southwest now, and that breeze introducing cooler temperatures too. As we go through the evening into the overnight period, the showers that developed across the south and east of the UK today will tend to fade away, so many southern and eastern spots get away with a dry night, some clear spells at times, whereas towards the north and west, notice showers give way to some more persistent outbreaks of rain, some of that turning quite heavy, particularly across Northern Ireland, Western England and parts of Wales by the morning on Monday. Quite a mild night to come though, and generally frost-free too, temperatures widely holding up in double figures. As for the start of the new working week then, well, Monday will start quite wet across much of mainland Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain in places here. Although I noticed towards the Northern Isles at this stage, still some clearer, brighter weather around, just a few showers to contend with to start Monday. Across Northern Ireland, some showery outbreaks of rain, and certainly across western parts of England into Wales, some quite heavy bursts of rain developing here as we go into the morning. Could give one or two local flooding issues, I think, in places. Towards the southeast at this stage, still quite bright, and I think it's the southeast of the UK that will generally hold on to the best of the weather through Monday. The sunshine gradually turning more hazy as we go into the afternoon. Whereas across northern and western areas, outbreaks of rain, again, turning quite heavy in places, particularly across western England into parts of Wales. Again, there could be one or two flooding issues into Monday afternoon. Whereas towards Northern Ireland, starting to turn brighter and more showery here. Still quite warm in the southeast in that sunshine, up to 23, possibly 24 Celsius, but nearer the high teens towards the northwest of the UK. As we go into the evening on Monday, those outbreaks of rain continue their journey eastwards. So I think we'll all see a pretty wet end to the day, but notice towards the northwest into the overnight period turning clearer and more showery. Quite a showery day across the UK on Tuesday, some more persistent rain on Wednesday, giving way again to sunshine and showers on Thursday.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back. Now, before we get to my panel, and welcome aboard if you just tuned in, this is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel. I'm Nana Akua. But first, let's go and check this out, because Arsenal are holding a victory parade right now. And joining me is GB News' national reporter, Jack Carson, who's outside the Emirates Stadium. Jack Carson, take it away.
Well, what I can tell you now, I mean, that is a 9-kilometre parade route. So people here, we saw the bus just over about 45 minutes ago. Incredible scenes here, scenes of red flares, chants of Arsenal. I mean, people here, you know, they're still enjoying what is now just become a party atmosphere. We're not far from Finsbury Park Station. It's an incredible day for Arsenal fans, of course, celebrating 22 years since they last won the Premier League title. They weren't able to secure the Champions League last night, but let me tell you, that is a thought in the back of people's minds. Let's speak to a couple of Arsenal fans that managed to grab for us. Agnes, tell us, what does this feel like? Arsenal, champions of the Premier League.
For me, it just feels like you've been in a bad marriage for so long, and finally the husband decided to say, "No, what? Let me work my marriage out." So this is like how I'm feeling right now, like, you know, for 22 years, and here we are now having better relationship. Look how everybody.
I was going to say, what is the atmosphere like? You're an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be surrounded by all these people, this party atmosphere that we've got in North London today?
To be honest with you, I haven't seen anything like this. This is more than the last coronation, you know. But I think this is what is different about other teams. Arsenal, when it's Arsenal, everybody come out. I believe if it's some Man United fans are wearing Arsenal today, so that they don't miss the fun.
And that Champions League loss last night, is that in the back of your mind? Is it mixed feelings with losing last night in the final?
It's a mixed feelings, but you know what? We just believe that we have to grab what is in front of us. So at this point, we don't care. We celebrate it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, I'll let you carry on celebrating. As many fans here, thousands of fans, no doubt will be into the night, Nana. Arsenal celebrating being Premier League champions after a 22-year wait today.
All right, Jack Carson, thank you very much. It looks great out there, thank you. All right, it is just coming up to 39 minutes after 3 o'clock, and it's time for the second great British debate of the hour. And I'm asking, does working in a vape shop make you a skilled worker? Yeah, it's been revealed that vape shops can apply for skilled worker visas from the Home Office. But does working in the shop really make you skilled? I mean, should we be concerned at the current loophole? Because it means that, of course, people from abroad, people traffickers can bring people on and put them in vape shops, I guess. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, does that make you a skilled worker if you work in a vape shop? Joining me now, designer and businessman Jeff Banks, and also former Labour Minister and MP Bill Rammell. Jeff Banks.
Well, I'm just suspicious of all these vape shops anyway. I mean, I think it's a small town like Telford. In the high street there are 12 vape shops in one high street. So what are they actually all about anyway? There's a big question mark about the validity of them, what's going on. I ask the question, why do the landlords even rent them to them? What are the criteria for actually the lease that they're expending? Now, if you say people that work in them, are they skilled? If I thought they were comparative to old-fashioned tobacconists, where you had different cigarettes, you had different cigars, you had different qualities of tobacco, you sold lots of various things. People that actually worked in those, like people that worked in off-licences, they were very skilled, they were knowledgeable. My uncle managed an off-licence. Now, whether or not there's such a variety of vapes that you need to be knowledgeable about what the ingredients are, question mark. A lot of them, I understand, and I'm not a vape user, are actually fake anyway. Yeah. So they're being imported illegally. And the other big question mark is, what else is going on under the counter that is a distribution that actually comes via vape shops? And maybe you need to be quite knowledgeable about what's going on there. So are they knowledgeable? Possibly. Are they knowledgeable for the wrong reasons? Maybe not.
What do you think, Bill Rammell? Because I thought with this skilled worker visa, you have to have like a specific specialism, which would be something that you possibly couldn't get in the country. In the country that, like, so for the UK, we would need to not have people who are skilled at knowing different vapes to be taking on lots of people from other countries to do that job.
That's right, and I'm really not sure this story stacks up because the government has rightly restricted the eligibility for skilled visas. One, it needs to be a graduate level job. Two, you need to be earning $41,700 a year. I cannot in any way, shape or form see how someone in a vape shop is earning over 40 grand a year, and the employer needs to provide robust evidence. So I'd love to see an audit of is there anyone who's actually getting a skilled worker visa to work within a vape shop. But I do think there are real concerns about vape shops, and you know, people who vape, and members of my family vape, so I'm not going to knock it, but vape shops, I think there are real questions and concerns, and the government has rightly set up a new police unit to target businesses on the high street like vape shops that are actually fronts for organised crime, and we really need to tackle that. But I would be astonished if anyone gets a skilled worker visa to work in a vape shop. 41.5 grand a year.
I look at the whole structure of the business, Bill, and I think me knowing the hoops you have to go through to get a lease with a landlord and actually get ratification to be able to get a lease, that alone is difficult. Who is it that's actually renting these shops to these individuals that are setting up vape shops? And I look at this town like Telford and the number of Turkish barbers that are in the same, what used to be the high street, 7 in one high street. I mean, American candy stores, you never see anybody in them. And it's just like, so what's the structure and what's behind them?
And there are indicators, so even though I'm bald, I go to a Turkish barber on a regular basis.
What for?
to polish it. Yeah. And I've stopped going to one because they don't take credit cards, they only take cash. And there's something going on there.
Well, look, you questioned the validity of the story. It is in the Telegraph. 80 different vape companies across the country are listed on the Home Office's public register of licence sponsored for workers and temporary worker immigration routes. So they're listed on the Home Office. That's what they've seen. And senior Tories have warned that many could potentially be using these as fronts for organised crime.
Well, just because you're listed, and the government has removed 100 occupations from that list, but just because you're listed doesn't mean you actually get a skilled worker visa, because it needs to be graduate level and you need to be earning over £41,700 a year. I cannot see, given the normal economics of a vape shop, how any vape shop is paying someone £41,700 a year.
Where did you get a degree? From which university in vape retailing? That's another question.
Fair point.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it's a loophole. It does sound like it's a loophole, and they have uncovered it. And to be honest, as you said, it is unlikely that somebody in a vape shop potentially would be earning that high salary, which means that if they were potentially earning that salary, then that could be a front for something else. So you could say that they're earning that salary. If you can get them through the whole visa system, say that they're earning that and get them through if you are in organised crime or something like that.
But any employer needs to provide substantive proof that the job is genuine, that the salary is genuine, and there are strict checks and balances. So, you know, let's
But they've got a lot of money, these people, so it's easy for them to say the salary is genuine. It's easy to say that there's a genuine job, and once that's gone through, the Home Office is so busy, who's going to go through and check that out?
But they would have to provide the evidence in terms of paychecks. And I'm just making the point.
They could do that. I'm just saying they could easily do that. Remember, if they're fronts for organised crime, then they're very, very wealthy.
And that's why they need to be cracked down on. And, you know, the specialist scheme has taken on 75 police officers across the country to specifically target these kind of activities. And I think that's the right thing to do.
I think they should go after the landlords as well.
Oh, yeah,
How are the landlords getting paid? Are they getting paid in cash?
Yeah.
Question mark.
All right, well, listen, stay with us. Coming up next, Worldview. I'll be speaking to the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Dundridge, to find out what's going on stateside. President Trump is given a clean bill of health in his annual medical checkup. But first, holiday sun in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading away, well, it's a mixed picture across Europe. We've got cloudy conditions across the Canary Islands, some showers in the Alps and some sunny spells elsewhere. So across Madeira and the Canaries, a cloudy theme on Monday. Best of the sunshine across Portugal, France and Spain. But to the north, that's where we'll see some showers, perhaps some longer spells of rain. But across Greece, further towards the south, that's where we'll see some sunny conditions, highs of up to 25 degrees. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Just talk us through, if you would, because it is fascinating, just the level, the intensity of the bombardment that London in particular was facing during that period of time. How long did it last for, and, you know, how intense was it?
Thank you, Mark. Hi again, Anne. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you.
The whole point about the book, Mark, is that you mentioned London there, and of course, that's the reality of what most people think. They think London, a few months between around Christmas 1940, that was the Blitz. But that's not the story that I'm telling. I'm telling the story that, you know, GB News would tell, which is the story of the whole nation. So not London, we're talking about Coventry, people will remember that. We're talking about Glasgow, we're talking about Aberdeen, we're talking about Exeter. And I'm telling the story of the war. So yes, thousands were killed in London during those few months, dreadful months. in around Christmas 1940. But 60,000 civilians perished during the whole course of the war. And again, we talk about when the Blitz started, when the Blitz ended. If you were being bombed in Glasgow or you are being bombed in Newcastle, so that image you've got on screen now is my mum's hometown. That is the picture of an air raid shelter in my mum's hometown. And if she'd been in that shelter, I wouldn't be with you today. But I found a survivor.
Where is it?
So that is in North Shields, on the banks of the Tyne as you come down outside Newcastle. So that image that you've got there, that kind of sparked the story that I tell of the nation in the book.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
If you've just tuned in, welcome on board. 49 minutes after 3 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Let's travel over to the United States now and speak to the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Dudridge, and find out what's going on with Donald Trump. Apparently, he aces his health test and he's put on a stone. He's got the body of a 65-year-old, they're saying.
He's got the body of... That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. He's interpreting, apparently, some of the medical results. But yes, he's had his medical, and there was a lot of cloak and dagger about this in Washington, and it was just like, oh, he's not releasing the results, and it's because he's got dementia or something. No, he's come out. He's aced it again. So I'm sorry, the Libs are going to have to put up with him for at least another year. But yes, he's put on, which is cute about the Americans. They say he's put on 14 pounds, and if you're a Brit, you're going, oh, a stone. He's put on a stone. So he's put on a stone in the last 12 months. But other than that, he's hale and hearty, and he's going to be around for another 12 months at least.
Yes, that's good, really, because I think we need one like that here, to be honest. Now, apparently his accuser, Jane Carroll, was investigated for perjury. Now, what was it? Remind me of what it was that she accused Trump of.
Jean Carroll is the main accuser in this sexual assault case that went, and she, there was in between his presidencies, she accused him of sexual assault, a historic sexual assault, and there seems to be, from the Trump administration, a lot of evidence against it. It was a civil suit, it was a civil case, and the judge at the end of it, in his verdict, said that, in his opinion, Trump had committed rape, okay? But it was never proven in a criminal court, etc. Now, Trump has appealed and appealed and appealed, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court. But what's happened this week is the Department of Justice has opened up an investigation into perjury on Jean Carroll, because in her depositions, she was asked, have you received funding for this case from another party? And she said no. Okay, and it's been demonstrated that she probably did, and she has, and there's a billionaire that has openly kind of funded the case, and that's enough. You lie to a court, even if it's a civil court. She received $5 million for the sexual assault and $83 million, I believe it was, from Trump for defamation, for saying she was a liar. So one could make the argument that Trump was subjected to lawfare. We shall see how this plays out. But she is now has a criminal investigation for perjury, for lying in this case. Did she receive funding? She said no. And now she just says, well, I forgot. I mean, how do you forget if somebody funds your court case?
Yes, it's a bit, interesting thing to forget. Let's briefly talk about Joe Biden. Apparently he's suing to block the release of some recordings. What were they of?
This was the recordings that apparently for his memoir, but they go into the Heritage Foundation went for a Freedom of Information request because Biden apparently talks about the classified documents that he was handling. But again, he's now suing the Department of Justice because they want to get their hands on the tapes, because I think that those tapes will demonstrate that Biden, and I'm using a medical term, was out of his gourd. And these are the times, and he was making these recordings when the FBI decided not to prosecute him because he'd be seen as like a kindly old gentleman. So I think this administration, exactly. They want to prove that he was never president, is the point.
Yeah. All right, now can we do this last one? Because I really want to talk about, we've got about 30 seconds, Trump's name removed from the Kennedy Center.
Trump added his name to the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. He had added his name. A judge has now said he has to remove the name within 14 days. I'll always call it the Trump Center, but the Kennedy Center will apparently revert back unless it gets kicked up to another court, which it will. There is no way that Trump is taking his name off a building that he's had it added to unless it's by his design. So, yes, the John F. Kennedy Center is currently, for the next 14 days, back to being the John F. Kennedy Center.
Interesting. I've been to that. Listen, thank you very much, Paul Dudridge, host of the Politics People podcast. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, next up is my niggle. Yes, it's on the BBC. Once again, being accused of bias. Have you ever heard of Desert Island Discs? Yes. Well, apparently, Nigel Farage hasn't been on it. First, let's get an update with your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update for the Met Office for GB News. The weather looks rather more unsettled, I'm afraid, across the UK over the coming week. We'll all start to see some outbreaks of rain at times and temperatures returning to the seasonal average. The pressure pattern sets the scene quite nicely. Low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK, starting to feed our area in from the west and southwest now, and that breeze introducing cooler temperatures too. As we go through the evening into the overnight period, the showers that developed across the south and east of the UK today will tend to fade away, so many southern and eastern spots get away with a dry night, some clear spells at times, whereas towards the north and west, notice showers give way to some more persistent outbreaks of rain, some that turning quite heavy, particularly across Northern Ireland, Western England and parts of Wales by the morning on Monday. Quite a mild night to come though, and generally frost-free too, temperatures widely holding up in double figures. As for the start of the new working week then, well, Monday will start quite wet across much of mainland Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain in places here. Although notice towards the Northern Isles at this stage, still some clearer, brighter weather around. Just a few showers to contend with to start Monday. Across Northern Ireland, some showery outbreaks of rain, and certainly across western parts of England into Wales, some quite heavy bursts of rain developing here as we go into the morning. Could give one or two local flooding issues, I think, in places. Towards the southeast at this stage, still quite bright, and I think it's the southeast of the UK that will generally hold on to the best of the weather through Monday. The sunshine gradually turning more hazy as we go into the afternoon. Whereas across northern and western areas, outbreaks of rain, again, turning quite heavy in places, particularly across western England into parts of Wales. Again, there could be one or two flooding issues into Monday afternoon. Whereas towards Northern Ireland, starting to turn brighter and more showery here. Still quite warm in the southeast in that sunshine, up to 23, possibly 24 Celsius, but nearer the high teens towards the northwest of the UK. As we go into the evening on Monday, those outbreaks of rain continue their journey eastwards. So I think we'll all see a pretty wet end to the day, but notice towards the northwest into the overnight period turning clearer and more showery. Quite a showery day across the UK on Tuesday, some more persistent rain on Wednesday, giving way again to sunshine and showers on Thursday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the
because
failure is...
you're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. It is 4 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua, and for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it is yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next few hours, designer and businessman Jeff Banks, and also former Labour Minister and MP Bill Rammell. Coming up in my niggle on our publicly funded broadcaster, the BBC, once again facing accusations of bias after reportedly banning Reform UK's leader Nigel Farage from an 84-year-old show that has featured Sir Keir Starmer and Tory leader Kemi Badenoch. Can you guess the show? But then there's no surprise. I'll lay out my thoughts in just a moment. And today, Arsenal fans and players are celebrating their Premier League title success on the streets of North London. We'll be live on the scene hearing from jubilant supporters on this exciting day for the Gunners. Now, throughout the show, I'm asking, is it irresponsible for Sir Keir Starmer to make it easier to claim benefits?
But we must have a welfare system fit for the future, and the current model doesn't work. It desperately needs reform. It leaves people trapped.
Yes, this comes as it has been revealed that the Prime Minister has been accused of watering down checks on benefit claimants to prevent the welfare system from collapsing. So my poll is live on gbnews.com. Please cast your vote. And then in the interview, joining me in the studio, actress Debbie Arnold. She'll be discussing her life and career as well as her important role as an ambassador for Carers Week, which is an annual campaign to raise awareness of the challenges both unpaid and paid carers face in their roles. Of course, that week is coming. She'll be joining me at 5. You won't want to miss that. But before we get started, your latest news with Bethany Elsey.
Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 4:02. North London is painted red as thousands of Arsenal fans line the streets to celebrate their club's Premier League win. Despite the Champions League defeat to Paris Saint-Germain last night, the crowd was in high spirits. The air thick with red smoke as fans have climbed trees, roofs and traffic lights to see their team lifting the trophy. Meanwhile, more than 200 people have been injured in clashes between fans and police across Paris. More than 400 people were arrested. Nicola Sturgeon says she's serving a sentence for a crime she didn't commit after her estranged husband admitted embezzling £400,000 from the Scottish National Party. In an interview with the BBC, the former SNP leader refused to apologise for the scandal and appeared emotional when describing gifts from Peter Murrell that turned out to have been purchased with stolen money. Murrell, the SNP's former chief executive, used party funds to buy items including luxury goods, jewellery, cosmetics, 2 cars and a motorhome. Sturgeon has consistently denied any knowledge of Murrell's crimes that were committed between 2010 and 2022.
I absolutely didn't know that he was committing crimes. Because of his actions, I was subjected to a 2-year police investigation. I was exonerated. If there had been a shred of evidence that I had been complicit in this or had known about what he was doing, then I wouldn't have been cleared. But despite being cleared, I've still spent a week with having the finger of suspicion pointed at me. Yes, I'm angry, but I'm also carrying a degree of hurt and I think a degree of trauma about this whole episode. It resulted in me sitting in a police station under arrest. What he has done to me, I think will take me a very, very long time to recover from.
Sir Keir Starmer has been criticised for watering down checks on benefit claimants as the welfare system risks collapsing under a record backlog of mental health cases. The number of people claiming personal independence payment, or PIP, has now reached a record-breaking 3.9 million people, costing the taxpayer £26 billion a year. That's a figure that's expected to rise to £41 billion by the end of the decade. New rules, which come into force this week, will allow benefit claimants to receive PIP awards for 4 years after an initial assessment and then a further 6 years after a review. But under the current system, claimants face reviews as often as every 9 months. 5 armed police officers have been banned from royal residences following a complaint by a female member of staff at Kensington Palace. That's according to the Sun newspaper. It's understood an official complaint was filed over a string of inappropriate comments between August 2023 and September 2024. The Met Police said the officers were investigated over allegations of misogynistic behaviour and received reflective practice after their conduct was found to fall below standards. It's expected that hundreds of illegal migrants will attempt to cross the Channel from France today, following 3 boatloads of migrants who arrived yesterday. Since a week last Friday, there's only been 1 day when migrant boats did not make it to UK waters. The World Health Organization's chief has visited the centre of the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo after warning the virus is spreading faster than the response. His visit comes as Brazil said it was investigating a suspected Ebola case involving a man who recently travelled to the DRC. And hundreds of trains will be cancelled this summer as Thameslink is taken under government control. Britain's biggest train company, which also operates the Southern and Great Northern franchises, will be nationalised today when the state takes ownership of Govia Thameslink Railway. It's after Labour pledged to place all passenger services under public control in its 2024 manifesto, saying at the time that it believed Britain's railways should be a source of pride, not exasperation. You're up to date for now. I'll have a roundup for you in half an hour.
Good afternoon. It's just coming up to 7 minutes after 4 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. The BBC, aka Auntie, our publicly funded broadcaster, is up to her old tricks again and is now facing allegations of bias. Apparently, Nigel Farage has been banned from appearing on Desert Island Discs, an 84-year-old show that has featured Sir Keir Starmer and Tory leader Kemi Badenoch. But no Nigel Farage. What a surprise. According to a new biography written by the Tory Deputy Chairman, Lord Ashcroft, the Reform UK leader will never be invited onto the show because his presence would make staff feel unsafe. Talk about woke overdrive. Programme makers were apparently worried that others would boycott the show if Nigel Farage was featured. Really? Now, I've never really sat down and listened to a full Desert Island Discs, a tired old show with a simple format, frankly because I'm too busy. But basically, celebrities, politicians, historians and people of interest choose their favourite songs that they would like to listen to if deserted on a desert island. It's very simple. Lord Ashcroft quotes a BBC source as saying that Mr Farage has effectively been blacklisted from the show. The source said, Farage is regarded instinctively by many BBC staff as unacceptable. At least half the staff would think Radio 4 had become an unsafe space if he was on the Desert Island Discs. Nothing would be written down. It's just classic liberal left BBC. But the BBC hit back. We do not ban any individuals from appearing on Desert Island Discs, and that includes Mr Farage. But this month, when Nigel's team asked if he qualified to appear on Lauren Laverne's show on Radio 4, they said that they were told, as we are now well into production on our latest series, we're not currently looking for new castaways. When making decisions about the very few active politicians we have on the programme, we make the bookings over quite a long time period, ensuring a range of voices. The BBC added it would stay in touch and revisit Nigel's interest for a future series. Well, we shall see. But it seems, unfortunately for the likes of Nigel, Auntie has her favourites, and his name's not down, so he's not coming in. Not on that show, anyway. Despite the BBC being a publicly funded broadcaster requiring to be unbiased, whose licence fee has a jail term if not paid, it would appear that the corporation is still ideologically captured. I'm pretty sure that there is no way that as an ex-BBC person, now a GB News presenter, that I would ever get a look in on a show like Strictly because, well, frankly, I'm the wrong kind of black. Unfortunately, the BBC is sliding even further down the ranks of an unbiased broadcaster, if there is any further to fall, which is why, in my view, so many people refuse to pay the licence fee. Not something I would encourage, of course, just an observation. If only Auntie would listen. Right, you're with me, I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up in this hour for the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is it time to accept that net zero is a scam? Now, this comes as it's been revealed defence firms must agree to fighting climate change before they can clinch multi-million-pound deals from the Ministry of Defence. So for the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is it time to scrap that, to accept that net zero is a scam? Then in the next Great British Debate, I'm asking, are the government missing the point when it comes to youth unemployment? A former Marks Spencer chief has been appointed as the government's jobs advisor in its latest attempt to tackle the growing youth unemployment crisis. But will this solve the issue, given that the BBC have hiked up the minimum wage, increased national insurance and massive business rates for companies that would normally employ a lot of young people? So in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, are the government missing the point when it comes to youth unemployment? And Nicola Sturgeon says that she's been left serving a sentence for a crime that she did not commit after her estranged husband Peter Morrell admitted embezzling £400,000 from the SNP, and she refuses to apologise. All of that is coming up. Send me your thoughts, your comments, gbnews.com/you'll say. Well, I'm joined by a journalist and political commentator who joins me right now, Jonathan Liss. Jonathan, your name escaped me for a moment.
Jonathan. That's the first time for everything, Nana. Can I just say I love your dress today?
Oh, thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Thank you. All right, now let's get stuck in. You're going to lay into me, obviously, after that. What do you think? Am I right? The BBC seem to be very tepid about inviting someone like Nigel Farage onto their big show, Desert Island Discs. 84 years it's been on air. Why?
Nana, first of all, you've missed out because that is a terrific show. It really does show that the old formats are the best ones. It's such a great way of finding out what makes people tick about what kind, because obviously music is something that we all have in our lives, and it's a really, really good way of finding. I invite everyone to think about what they would take onto a desert island because it really does make you think about your life and the soundtracks to your life, and that is why I think that Farage should be invited on.
Yes.
First of all, the idea that Farage is some kind of blacklisted from the BBC is the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard.
Not
He's
from
been
the
on Question
BBC.
Time more than
not from the
anyone else,
BBC.
Anna.
Not from the BBC, but from that specific show. So there are many shows on the BBC, but we are being very specific here. On that show, he has not been invited, but other leaders have been.
But the implication of what you're saying is that Farage is somehow persona non grata at the national broadcaster, and this is an outrage because obviously so many people who are BBC licensed players are also reform voters, and they don't get represented. That is just not true. Farage is on the BBC almost as much as Fiona Bruce is. So he's been on Question Time. He's been on Question Time more than anyone else, Nana.
Yeah, but why is he on there, though? He's never on there to do something that is personable. So I've not seen them invite him in to do something personable where we get to hear more about him. They get him on there to lambast him if they can, or to try and trap him on questions. They never bring him on there where he can show himself as a person.
Well, I don't remember the last time Kenny Badenoch was on Blue Peter or on Jack and Ori or anything like that.
No, but she's been on Desert Island Discs, where you can talk about yourself and what's interesting about you. They've never invited him on anything like that.
Okay, and I think that obviously that no one is required to be on any specific show. I think that he should be on there, and that Lauren Laverne, who's a very good broadcaster, should grill him on some of the deeply unsavoury things he's said in the past.
Well, exactly. He's always invited on there to be grilled, but he's never invited on something that would show him as a human being.
Well, clearly Nigel Farage is a human being. Whether he's a nice human being is a separate issue. Farage is on the airwaves so much, Nana. He literally has a programme on this very channel where he can present the version of himself that he wants to present.
Which is fine.
Right, I think.
But he should be at least invited on there, like Kenny Badenoch, like Keir Starmer, to do things like that, surely.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that Farage should be on the airwaves and he should be exposed for the charlatan that he is. He has all the opportunities in the world to present himself in the way that he wants because he has literally a programme that he presents on a national TV channel. This one, Keir Starmer doesn't have that. Kenny Badenoch doesn't have that. She only gets to be on television and Starmer only gets to be on television at the whims of other broadcasters who then are entitled to give him softball interviews or hardball interviews.
He's been on LBC for Call Keir, a programme dedicated to him. We've had David Lammy, who actually presented shows.
He doesn't have a regular slot on LBC.
No, but he's been on, you just said there's no programmes where he's done that, so I'm pointing some out. David Lammy has been on a programme where he actually had a whole show. Lots of them have had their own show on LBC.
And my point is not that there's an
presenter, one week it's another. So they've all enjoyed the fruits of other broadcasters.
My point is that Farage has had multiple opportunities and continues to have multiple opportunities to present himself in a way that he wants to be presented as. The idea that he is somehow a victim of unjust persecution is the only thing that runs through his career, because Nigel Farage has built his career on grievance and perpetual victimhood. It is so transparent. He's always, look at him. One thing he has in common with Trump is that they're both constant victims, even when they're flying high.
You just clarify for me, when an example of Nigel Farage, when he's perpetuated or presented himself as a victim. I have not seen that. So give me an example.
Well, literally today is one example where he's saying, well, you just wait until reform gets into power and we'll sort out this woke nonsense.
No, he's not said he's a victim.
He's saying that he's a victim of BBC bias. Well, in the same way when he was the victim of being debanked.
He was a victim of being debanked.
A couple of years ago.
But he was. He was. He was.
Reform
he was debanked.
Nana, reform is built on a culture of grievance. It's all about how they are the victims of every single thing that's gone wrong in Britain.
What is the Labour Party based on then? Because again, I would say that most parties are based on kind of grievances that those who support them all have an affiliation with. So the working class may feel that they're not represented properly, so they might join the Labour Party. More people who are not happy with the state of immigration might go towards Reform UK because they feel they're not represented. Each party is supported by people with a collection of grievances that party goes to represent and
I actually don't agree with you. I think
you've just said that. I think they're all the same.
Okay, well, I'm saying I completely disagree with that because, for example, the Labour Party was built on making life better for working people.
Because the working people felt that they weren't being represented properly, so they wanted trade unions.
It's not about grievance politics. I'm talking about the way the parties are structured now. I don't think they're based on grievance in the same way. Labour is not saying, look at all these people out to get you. Even the Conservative Party, which I completely oppose in every way, is not built on playing people off against each other, playing sections of the population. I mean, admittedly, it is a lot more like that now.
A question for you. Why was the Labour Party set up then? Who set it up? Wasn't it trade unions? And trade unions, hold on, literally focus on work grievances. You have a trade union to represent you and support your grievance. So they are based on grievance.
The party was obviously founded in response to a series of profoundly unfair, systemic discrimination in British society. Some of which exist today. But the point is that for us, I mean, we're getting slightly off topic. But reform now, I believe, is based on isolating segments of the British population and society and saying, look at those people. These are people that are making your life worse. It is an entirely negative political prospectus that actually isn't about making people's lives better.
Okay,
it's
so you would agree, though,
others are making their lives worse.
But you would agree with the wish to stop the small boats? Wouldn't you?
No, I've said to you 1,000 times I think we should stop the small boats. Everyone agrees we should stop the small boats.
Yeah, but 1,500 arrived. That's one of the big policies that Nigel Farage's Reform UK are focusing on. They're not happy with that.
Let's disentangle that. Let's disentangle that.
Even the government... Even the Labour Party
boats is a proper small. I've never once defended a small boat.
Exactly.
I think the small boats.
That's one of the big policies of Reform UK.
Of course, small boats need to be stopped.
Exactly.
Because it's really bad for the people getting on them, and it's really bad that we are basically outsourcing our policy to a group of smuggling gangs who are creaming money off. That's obviously a bad thing.
Well, that's a big policy for Reform UK,
we've discussed that 1,000 times.
Yeah, but that's a big policy for Reform UK.
Saying that those small boats are the reason that people are struggling. That is not the reason.
Well, it's one of the
small
reasons.
boats could stop tomorrow. I guarantee, Nana, the small boats could stop tomorrow, and people would still feel like they weren't getting a good deal from society. They would still feel like their opportunities were smaller than the generation before. And guess what? Reform would capitalise on that because they're a party of grievance.
I've got to move on, Jonathan.
They're not a party of solutions.
I've got to move on, Jonathan, but I have to say that the small boats are a big policy for Reform UK. It's one of the policies that made all the other parties sit up and listen. And so I think that's fair enough. So I don't really see what you're talking about, to be honest with you. I think each party has their own policies and, people can support whoever they want based on what their grievances are. And they're all based on grievance.
That's not the issue.
Yeah, all right. Jonathan Liss, always a pleasure. See you later. Goodbye. Right, that's Jonathan Liss. That's what he thinks. So, a reminder that the BBC have said we do not ban any individuals from appearing on Desert Island. This and that includes Mr Farage. All right, well, we shall look forward to maybe seeing him on there soon. You're with me, I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. Still to come in the interview, I'll be speaking with actress Debbie Arnold, who'll be discussing her life and career, as well as Carers Week, which is an annual campaign to raise awareness of the challenges unpaid and paid carers face in their roles. Debbie is an ambassador for that. She'll be joining me just after 5. You won't want to miss it. But next in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is it time to accept that net zero is a scam? This is GB News.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon. It is fast approaching 24 minutes after 4 o'clock. If you just tuned in, where have you been? Halfway through the show, 3 o'clock next time. I'm Nana Akua. Welcome. But now to the news that firms must agree to fighting climate change before they can clinch multi-billion-pound deals with the Ministry of Defence. I mean, really? It's claimed that the MOD requires companies seeking cyber defence contracts to commit to tackling eco-inequality. So obviously by that we are referencing net zero and all those sort of things that come with it, climate change. Well, I'm joined by environmental activist Dr. Bing Jones. Bing, I'm confused because I thought that if you're in the Ministry of Defence and they buy rockets and all sorts of things, that those are very anti-climate, aren't they? They're anti-everything. I mean, they must chuck out a load of nonsense into the atmosphere. Why is nobody worried about that?
Well, no, thanks very much for having me. Can I say again, like the last presenter, you've got fantastic colours. Wish I was brave enough to have such colours.
Thank you.
Yeah, look, of course, war is absolutely terrible. Yeah. Do you know that to get those jets off the ground, they can't use ordinary tarmac on the runways. They have to use special cement because it just melts the cement.
Right.
No, war is an absolute, utter disaster. But the Climate Change Committee, the government's own Climate Change Committee, has recently said that the climate crisis is as much of a threat to British security as the geopolitical things like wars, right? The climate is dire. It's absolutely awful. And to go around denying or saying that it's a hoax is massively irresponsible.
Well, I'm not saying... I'm calling it a scam, actually, Bing. I'm calling it a scam because I'm looking at it and thinking...
A scam is a hoax, isn't it? You're denying it,
Yeah,
aren't
but it means that you're... I'm looking at that thinking, if you are that bothered about the environment, why would you have one of those jets take off on that tarmac that you've said that they have to specially made, chucking out all those fumes into the environment, and then going for things like electric ambulances and electric tanks and stuff like that aren't going to work very well on the battlefield, and once they're ignited, you'll never get them out. It just doesn't make sense. It all feels a bit of a contradiction, is what I'm saying, Bing.
No, this is a nonsense, right? It's not one thing or another. Basically, look, I'm an old doctor, OK? I've spent my life dealing with people. Often they were dying because they didn't realise how bad their situation was until it was too late. The climate is absolutely dire. And apart from anything else, if we don't get on top of the carbon emissions, which are causing this ridiculous heat that every one of your listeners will have seen just over the last few days. If we don't get on top of it, apart from anything else, there are going to be more wars because climate destroys societies. And when societies fall down and when people can't eat, that's what causes wars. It's not one or the other. We've got to solve the climate crisis.
Well, it is one or the other.
No,
it is. It is one or the other, isn't it? Surely. Because how can you get on top of carbon emissions if you've got jet fighters and rockets and you're exploding things? And how can you get on top of it when you're building all of that infrastructure? And then you're telling people, oh, we need clean fuel, we need clean energy, it feels like utter hypocrisy.
It's not hypocrisy. Look, prevention is always better than cure. We've got to prevent this one problem. We can't go for stopping all wars, but we can stop the wars which are caused by people being so hungry that they can't, their societies collapse. Look, there are two things that I know.
But we're not fighting those, are we?
Sure.
I mean, we're in Iran. They're not so hungry that their societies are going to collapse.
No, look, the two things that I know absolutely for certain are that the temperature is going up and up really, really fast, and that it's a threat to absolutely everything that we know. And that the one thing that's really important to us is the security of our children, and the climate is the biggest threat. The second thing that I know very, very clearly is that people who have money invested in fossil fuels, including the people that fund your loss-making channel, the people who have money invested in fossil fuels will do everything to try to distract us from solving this biggest problem, which is the climate crisis. We have got to get on top of it. The insurance industry says it's #1 priority. We're facing massive threats from individual people's homes are liable for flooding, something like 92% of homes, that's what the Climate Change Committee said only last week, are liable to overheating. It's getting ridiculously hot. My grandchildren cannot sleep at night. It's happening here, it's happening now, and it's going to get worse, worse and worse.
All right, well, listen, Bing, I appreciate your thoughts. So good to get you on board. It's lovely to hear your comments. Thank you for the compliment. I look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you. That's environmental activist Dr. Bing Jones. Let's bring in my panel. Designer and businessman Jeff Banks and former Labour Minister and MP Bill Rammell. Jeff Banks.
What an absolute lot of tosh.
Go on, say what you mean.
I'm fed up with hearing it. The facts are that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has been declining for the last 150 million years. 150 million years. Without carbon dioxide, carbon element is the structure that everything on the planet depends on. Without carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, no plant would grow, no grass would grow, no animals would be able to feed. That's the first thing. The second thing is all this hypocrisy about climate change. Yeah, the climate has been changing for the last 450 million years. The thermometer was only invented 175 years ago. So when you look at ice drillings that go back 300 million years, then you will see how climate has changed over millennia, not just in the last 175 years. When you actually look at the variation in climate at the equator, it hardly varies at all. So maybe his kids ain't able to sleep this week, but next week the temperature's going to drop again and they'll be absolutely fine. And the third thing is that they go on about carbon dioxide being the resultant fact of planet warming. It's not. That without carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, radiated from the sun, heat from the sun, would bounce back into the atmosphere if it didn't get reflected back to Earth to keep us at the stable temperature we're at now. So on 3 counts, a load of tosh.
Bill Rammell.
Jeff, I don't think it's a load of tosh. And look, neither you or I are scientists, but I listen to them, and 99% of scientists think that climate change is real and it's got disastrous consequences. And the public backs that. You know, despite the avalanche of criticism of the net zero agenda, there's still more than 50% of the public, if you look at the polls, who back net zero. And I think they know.
Well, hang on. It's the question they're asked. Do you support preventing global warming? They're not specifically asked. It's what question they're asked. Most people, if they were asked, would you support to protect the climate, we would all say yes. But would we support net zero? No.
Well, the specific poll
what's the specific
The specific poll I'm referring to talks about, do you support net zero? And people, well, the majority of people say that they do. And I think part of that is that the agenda to push for more renewables, people see is cheaper and is more safe, is more secure in the longer term. This point about the link with defence, nobody is suggesting, well, maybe Zach Polanski is, but nobody who's sensible is suggesting, who supports the environment, that we should stop planes from flying or we should stop having defences.
Some of them are. Some of them are trying to tell us we shouldn't fly so many planes that go around the world.
They're zealots and nutters. But, you know, mainstream people, mainstream politicians, the government does not say we should stop flying, does not say, you know, we should stop the Ministry of Defence from flying, does not say we shouldn't have defences.
Well, how do you square the circle then with the Ministry of Defence and, as the environmentalists pointed out, special runways because what's coming out of the back of the airplane is so toxic and dangerous that it would set fire to everything in its wake, obviously emitting oodles and oodles amounts of carbon, and then on the other side the Ministry of Defence saying, no, you can't have that contract with us if you're not net zero and this and that. I mean, it's utter hypocrisy. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's called contract compliance. It's been around for decades, and if you look at the evidence, it's often people who live in the poorest community who are most at risk from toxic waste or environmental poor consequences. And all as I understand it, the Ministry of Defence is saying that a defence contractor needs to mitigate those risks if it's to win a contract.
Well,
and I think that's a sensible thing to do.
The amount of carbon dioxide that motor vehicles exude, it's just a minute percentage of carbon dioxide in the global atmosphere. It's minuscule. The odd jet plane, it's not actually going to ruin the climate whatsoever. It's a complete fallacy. And all of it was actually started by Al Gore when he was vice president, and he actually came out with what has turned out to be one of the biggest inconvenient truths, he called it at the time. And what is the truth is the truth about the inconvenient truth, which is a load of bull. And we've all bought into it. Why? Because it's a money-making scheme. The money-making scheme of carbon capture has become an industry that everybody has bought into. And that's why they're all promoting it.
All right, well, what do you think? GBNews.com/, you'll say, we'll get to some of those. But a Ministry of Defence spokesperson said, we are applying the social value model so that it is more relevant for UK defence, ensuring contracts are appropriately incentivising suppliers and helping drive growth. You're with me, I'm Nana Akua. Still to come in my interview. Joining me, actress Debbie Arnold, to discuss Carers Week, which is an annual campaign to raise awareness of the challenge unpaid and paid carers face. She's an ambassador. She'll join me just after 5. You won't want to miss that. But next, in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, are the government missing the point when it comes to youth unemployment? This is GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update for the Met Office for GB News. The weather looks rather more unsettled, I'm afraid, across the UK over the coming week. We'll all start to see some outbreaks of rain at times and temperatures returning to the seasonal average. The pressure pattern sets the scene quite nicely. Low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK, starting to feed our area in from the west and southwest now, and that breeze introducing cooler temperatures too. As we go through the evening into the overnight period, the showers that developed across the south and east of the UK today will tend to fade away, so many southern and eastern spots get away with a dry night, some clear spells at times, whereas towards the north and west, notice showers give way to some more persistent outbreaks of rain, some of that turning quite heavy, particularly across Northern Ireland, Western England and parts of Wales by the morning on Monday. Quite a mild night to come though, and generally frost-free too, temperatures widely holding up in double figures. As for the start of the new working week then, well, Monday will start quite wet across much of mainland Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain in places here. Although notice towards the Northern Isles at this stage, still some clearer, brighter weather around. Just a few showers to contend with to start Monday. Across Northern Ireland, some showery outbreaks of rain, and certainly across western parts of England into Wales, some quite heavy bursts of rain developing here as we go into the morning. Could give one or two local flooding issues, I think, in places. Towards the southeast at this stage, still quite bright, and I think it's the southeast of the UK that will generally hold on to the best of the weather through Monday. The sunshine gradually turning more hazy as we go into the afternoon. Whereas across northern and western areas, outbreaks of rain, again, turning quite heavy in places, particularly across western England into parts of Wales. Again, there could be one or two flooding issues into Monday afternoon. Whereas towards Northern Ireland, starting to turn brighter and more showery here. Still quite warm in the southeast in that sunshine, up to 23, possibly 24 Celsius, but nearer the high teens towards the northwest of the UK. As we go into the evening on Monday, those outbreaks of rain continue their journey eastwards. So I think we'll all see a pretty wet end to the day, but notice towards the northwest into the overnight period turning clearer and more showery. Quite a showery day across the UK on Tuesday, some more persistent rain on Wednesday, giving way again to sunshine and showers on Thursday.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. This is GB News Live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. If you just tuned in, I mean, I did ask the people before where they've been. Some of you say you've been trapped in the situation with that bus in London. I hear you. I don't blame you. Get out of there. Right, so it's time for the Great British Debate this hour, and I'm asking, are the government missing the point when it comes to youth unemployment? Now, a review by former Labour Minister Alan Milburn has warned that we are actually at risk of a lost generation. It said that 1 in 6 young people will be out of work, education or training in 5 years. That's what they call the NEETs, unless action is taken. Another study this week by the Centre for Social Justice found that 27 young non-EU migrants have been hired for every young Brit since 2020. Wow. So for the Great British Debate, I'm asking, are the government missing the point when it comes to youth unemployment, given the things that they've just put in place, increase of the minimum wage, national insurance increase, business rates, affecting businesses that actually normally hire young people? Well, joining me now, businessman and designer Jeff Banks and former Labour Minister and MP Bill Rummel. Bill Rummel.
I actually think the Milburn review, you know, lots of governments set up reviews and you know, they don't normally necessarily have much impact. I think the Milburn review has had real impact. Some of the findings within his report, you know, that in the last decade there's been a 70% increase in the number of young people who are NEET, that for every £1 we spend on getting a young person into work, we spend £25 on income support, and that balance is utterly wrong, and it needs to be changed. You talk, Nana, about, you know, things like national insurance. Well, young people under the age of 21, neither they nor their employers actually pay NI. The area where I think...
Well, no, because it's the employers pay the NI. So the employers...
No, but if you're under 21 and you're an employing an under 21 person, neither the employee or the employer pays NI. So I don't think that has been an issue.
Well, but young people, so we'll class them up to 25.
24,
yeah. 24.
Yeah.
Then that's over that. So that's at least 3 years worth of wear. And those are the people who've just come out of university who'll be looking for jobs. So whilst they might not sound that impactful, they've just come out of university. They're 21. They're looking for a job.
Yeah.
NI plays a big part in that, and those will be the new graduates looking for work.
I don't buy that argument. The argument I do buy is over the minimum wage. You know, I was a member of Parliament when we brought the minimum wage in, and we were really, really careful at the level that we set it, particularly for young people, so that it didn't impact on jobs. I think arguably for young people, the minimum wage, and you know, I want everyone to have a decent wage. I think arguably it's gone too high, and I hope the government looks at that. But there's a lot of other stuff being done, like the youth jobs guarantee, which I think is really important.
Well, is that the one where they've got 300,000
That's
jobs?
part of it. 300,000 extra work experience placements.
But they're extra work experience, and unfortunately, employers who would have taken on young people are not taking on young people because of a lot of the things that the government have done. Jeff Banks.
I think overall, for me, it's a much wider problem than that. That as a nation, we are not building any industries, any future for this country, and therefore for the youth. So we've actually exited manufacturing. We've actually exited computer development. We've exited plausible energy to build industries. And all of those factors create jobs, which in turn creates jobs for young people. And I think that's the biggest problem. If I was a young person starting out today, I would find it difficult to think, where am I even going to begin to look to get a job? Let alone all of these fancy twiddles that the government does. We are missing out that we're no longer a vibrant, productive country. And I think that's the basis. So when you look at young people that are actually coming out of university at the moment, they maybe have a degree in physics. Where do they go to actually get a job in physics in this country?
But that's one of the problems, isn't it? Why would you, just because you've got a degree in physics and you think you should be a physicist, you don't necessarily start as a physicist. And I think sometimes, young people's expectations are just way off the scale. And they don't realise, like I started doing cleaning, doing this, doing that. I worked in a factory, Tadmod in Malden, soldering parts to plugs, and I did everything. I did absolutely everything.
But if you enjoy physics, you can actually get a job with a computer company. But they've all moved. So quantum computing, it doesn't exist now.
Yes, but you should be able to get, but what about any job? A job just for the job's sake?
Yeah,
to start to fund your life and then you start looking for your job. I don't think the young people think like that anymore.
No, I don't think they're work-oriented. I think the pandemic was actually a big factor in kids sitting at home and thinking, there was no need to leave the house. I could just sit in front of a screen. That became a problem. I think physicality, that they actually, and schools have stopped physical education, stopped competitiveness. So I think young people are no longer physically fit in the way that they were. Friends of mine that actually say, a guy that I know that owns a big chain of stores, he said young kids that are applying, they can't lift anything. They're not physically fit to actually do a warehouse job. So I think we are stacking things against them, and that's the end-up reason why you end up with young people depressed, going on to PIP, and finding it easier to actually get welfare rather than even bothering to get a job. So we've got a downward spiral.
Yeah, but there's an element of what you're saying, Anna, that I agree with. As well as being a former MP and minister, I'm a former university vice-chancellor, and I always used to say to students, it's actually a good thing to work part-time whilst you are studying, because it gets you into the habit of work, the discipline of work that you will need in the longer run. But there's a really scary element to this debate, and although there are huge advantages to AI is going to be stripping a lot of jobs out that young people aren't going to be able to take.
Well, that might be the case, but usually when that happens, there's other aspects that then become places where employment exists. So you don't know what's next. AI might come in, but there might be some other opportunities that evolve as a result of it. But stay with me, because coming up, Nicola Sturgeon says that she's been left serving a sentence for a crime she did not commit after her estranged husband, Peter Morell, admitted to embezzling £400,000 from the SNP. We'll discuss that. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun in Europe, here's the forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading away, well, it's a mixed picture across Europe. We've got cloudy conditions across the Canary Islands, some showers in the Alps and some sunny spells elsewhere. So across Madeira and the Canaries, a cloudy theme on Monday. Best of the sunshine across Portugal, France and Spain. But to the north, that's where we'll see some showers, perhaps some longer spells of rain. But across Greece, further towards the south, that's where we'll see some sunny conditions, highs of up to 25 degrees. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Today is Victory in Europe Day. Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May.
This historic proclamation by Winston Churchill was a moment for the nation to rejoice. Celebrations were held across Europe to mark the end of the Second World War. 81 years on, VE Day is commemorated. At Deangate Care Home in Barnsley, a special party was held to honour those who helped defeat the Nazis all those decades ago and to thank veterans at the home.
We are a veteran-friendly home, and I like to showcase all of our veterans at any time of the year, and VE Day is just a perfect reason, really, to really put them on a pedestal and show everybody how good our veterans are and the local community is. We should be so thankful for what they've done.
For the veterans here, the sacrifices of those who gave their today for our tomorrow should never be forgotten.
The main thing is that my father's medals, which I wear on my right side, is just a tribute to him and that he served all the way through the Second World War. And, of course, myself, when I served 22 years afterwards.
I think it was vital that they remembered this VE Day and, that we carried it on.
Their dad was the only one left out of 5 in that tank. So he was injured in there, and he was in the 8th Army under Montgomery's division.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to GB News, 49 minutes after 4 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. Now, Nicola Sturgeon says that she's been left serving a sentence for a crime that she did not commit after her estranged husband, Peter Morrell, admitted embezzling 400 grand from the SNP. In a very emotional interview on the BBC, the former First Minister insisted that she had no knowledge of the missing funds and refused to apologise for the scandal.
I absolutely didn't know that he was committing crimes. Because of his actions, I was subjected to a 2-year police investigation. I was exonerated. If there had been a shred of evidence that I had been complicit in this or had known about what he was doing, then I wouldn't have been cleared. But despite being cleared, I've still spent a week with having the finger of suspicion pointed at me. Yes, I'm angry, but I'm also carrying a degree of hurt and I think a degree of trauma about this whole episode. It resulted in me sitting in a police station under arrest. what he has done to me, I think will take me a very, very long time to recover from.
All right, well, I'm joined by author Scotland Undone, Dean Thompson. Dean, you're hearing what she's saying. Do you believe her?
I think the biggest takeaway is the straw man framing that Miss Sturgeon is engaging in with the comments that she's making. When she says, I don't want to apologise for someone else's crimes, well, nobody serious is asking her to do that. What people like Joanna Cherry Casey are pointing out is this is about political accountability for Nicola Sturgeon. She led a party and oversaw a political culture in which people who tried to look at the book, such as Joanna Cherry Casey, were demonised. It's about a governance failure, and it belongs with her. If you think of Sturgeon when she said in the interview, I will take full responsibility for the things I do, a lot of her critics have been saying in Scottish social media over the last couple of hours, fine, let's begin doing that. 3 members of the Finance and Audit Committee in March 2021 resigned. Douglas Chapman resigned as Treasurer in May 2021, and he literally said he couldn't fulfil his fiduciary obligations, i.e. he wasn't able to fulfil his legal obligations because he couldn't get to see any of the books. So people like Joanna Cherry are asking, well, why did Nicola Sturgeon, and they are accusing Nicola Sturgeon of overseeing a political culture where they were blocked from being able to fulfil statutory obligations. Didn't hear Nicola Sturgeon in that interview address or even accept or dismiss the fact that these people were blocked, prevented, as they're saying they were, from doing their political and legal obligations. And there's plenty of things to think about here. Sturgeon has questions being asked of her in regards to public statements she made. She said in 2021 that the SNP's books were independently and fully audited. This is also a problem because in 2021, Johnson Carmichael LLP, who did the accounts in those days, had been saying, and this is a public record statement, that they were the greatest risk of revenue and fraud was with revenue recognition in the accounts. By 2022, they resigned, and the SNP leadership did not even tell their own NEC that they'd resigned for 6 months. And this is about a political culture that Nicola Sturgeon can and should answer for.
So, I hear that, and I do agree in a way. I think it's dangerous to have a husband and wife team in that position, because if one is lying to the other, then I could imagine that Paul Morrell, I don't know, I'm just guessing, would have said, oh, don't take any notice of that, Nicola, they're trying to do this, that and the other to us, blah, 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 and she may have gone along with it. But very briefly, I've got about 10 seconds with you. Do you believe her when she says she didn't know? Yes or no?
No. Personally,
okay,
no.
All right, Dean, that's it. We're out of time. Really good to hear you. That's Dean Thompson. He's the author of Scotland Undone. Right, well, stay with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Plenty more still to come, including my interview with actress Debbie Arnold to discuss the Carers Week. First, the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update for the Met Office for GB News. The weather looks rather more unsettled, I'm afraid, across the UK over the coming week. We'll all start to see some outbreaks of rain at times and temperatures returning to the seasonal average. The pressure pattern sets the scene quite nicely. Low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK, starting to feed our area in from the west and southwest now, and that breeze introducing cooler temperatures too. As we go through the evening into the overnight period, the showers that developed across the south and east of the UK today will tend to fade away, so many southern and eastern spots get away with a dry night, some clear spells at times, whereas towards the north and west, notice showers give way to some more persistent outbreaks of rain, some that turning quite heavy, particularly across Northern Ireland, Western England and parts of Wales by the morning on Monday. Quite a mild night to come though, and generally frost-free too, temperatures widely holding up in double figures. As for the start of the new working week then, well, Monday will start quite wet across much of mainland Scotland. some heavy bursts of rain in places here. Well, I noticed towards the Northern Isles at this stage, still some clearer, brighter weather around, just a few showers to contend with to start Monday. Across Northern Ireland, some showery outbreaks of rain, and certainly across western parts of England into Wales, some quite heavy bursts of rain developing here as we go into the morning. Could give one or two local flooding issues, I think, in places. Towards the southeast at this stage, still quite bright, and I think it's the southeast of the UK that will generally hold on to the best of the weather through Monday. The sunshine gradually turning more hazy as we go into the afternoon. Whereas across northern and western areas, outbreaks of rain, again, turning quite heavy in places, particularly across western England into parts of Wales. Again, there could be one or two flooding issues into Monday afternoon. Whereas towards Northern Ireland, starting to turn brighter and more showery here. Still quite warm in the southeast in that sunshine, up to 23, possibly 24 Celsius, but nearer the high teens towards the northwest of the UK. As we go into the evening on Monday, those outbreaks of rain continue their journey eastwards. So I think we'll all see a pretty wet end to the day, but notice towards the northwest into the overnight period turning clearer and more showery. Quite a showery day across the UK on Tuesday, some more persistent rain on Wednesday, giving way again to sunshine and showers on Thursday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It is 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. And for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me in the next hour, designer and businessman Jeff Banks, and also former Labour Minister and MP Bill Rammell. Now, throughout the show, I've been asking, is it irresponsible for Keir Starmer to make it easier to claim benefits?
But we must have a welfare system fit for the future, and the current model doesn't work. It desperately needs reform. It leaves people trapped.
Well, this comes as it has been revealed that the Prime Minister has been accused of watering down checks on benefit claimants to prevent the welfare system from collapsing. Well, I've got my poll up live on gbnews.com. I'm asking you, is it irresponsible to make it easier for welfare claimants to claim benefit? Please cast your vote now. Then coming up in the interview, I'll be speaking to actress Debbie Arnold, who will be discussing her life as a carer, as well as her important role as an ambassador for Carers Week, which is an annual campaign to raise awareness of the challenges both unpaid and paid carers face in their roles. She'll be joining me just after 5. You won't want to miss that. And in case you didn't manage to catch my niggle, where I discussed the BBC reportedly banning Reform UK leader Nigel Farage from Desert Island Discs, you can check it out on gbnews.com, YouTube and on our social media channels, although I would always recommend watching it live every Saturday and Sunday with me, just after 4. But before we get started, your latest news with Bethany Elsey.
Nana, thank you. Top stories from the GB newsroom at 2 minutes past 5. North London is painted red as thousands of Arsenal fans line the streets to celebrate their club's first Premier League win in 22 years. Despite the Champions League defeat to Paris Saint-Germain last night, the crowd was in high spirits. The air was thick with red smoke as fans climbed trees, roofs and traffic lights to see their team lifting the trophy. Meanwhile, in Paris, more than 200 people have been injured in clashes between fans and police. Hundreds have been arrested. Nicola Sturgeon says she's serving a sentence for a crime she did not commit after her estranged husband admitted embezzling £400,000 from the Scottish National Party. In an interview with the BBC, the former SNP leader refused to apologise for the scandal and appeared emotional, describing gifts from Peter Murrell that turned out to have been purchased with stolen money. Murrell, the SNP's former chief executive, used party funds to buy items including luxury goods, jewellery, cosmetics, 2 cars and a motorhome. Sturgeon has consistently denied any knowledge of Murrell's crimes that were committed between 2010 and 2022.
I absolutely didn't know that he was committing crimes. Because of his actions, I was subjected to a 2-year police investigation. I was exonerated. If there had been a shred of evidence that I had been complicit in this or had known about what he was doing, then I wouldn't have been cleared. But despite being cleared, I've still spent a week with having the finger of suspicion pointed at me. Yes, I'm angry, but I'm also carrying a degree of hurt and I think a degree of trauma about this whole episode. It resulted in me sitting in a police station under arrest. What he has done to me, I think will take me a very, very long time to recover from.
Keir Starmer has been criticised for watering down checks on benefit claimants as the welfare system risks collapsing under a record backlog of mental health cases. The number of people claiming personal independence payment, or PIP, has now reached a record-breaking 3.9 million, costing the taxpayer £26 billion a year. That's a figure that's expected to rise to £41 billion by the end of the decade. New rules which come into force this week will allow benefit claimants to receive PIP awards for 4 years after an initial assessment, and then a further 6 years after a review. Under the current system, claimants face reviews as often as every 9 months. A search is underway for an 11-year-old schoolboy who went missing after being seen entering a river in South Yorkshire. The boy was seen entering the River Don in Mexborough, and police were called at around 8 p.m. yesterday. At least 14 young people have died after getting into difficulty in open water during the recent heatwave. 5 armed police officers have been banned from royal residences following a complaint by a female member of staff at Kensington Palace. That's according to The Sun. It's understood an official complaint was filed over a string of inappropriate comments between August 2023 and September 2024. The Met Police says the officers were investigated over allegations of misogynistic behaviour and received reflective practice after their conduct fell below standards. The World Health Organization chief has visited the centre of the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He's warning the virus is spreading faster than the response. Meanwhile, Brazil says it's investigating the suspected Ebola case involving a man who recently travelled to the DRC. And hundreds of trains will be cancelled this summer as Thameslink is taken under government control. Britain's biggest train company, which also operates the Southern and Greater Northern franchises, will be nationalised today when the state takes ownership of Govia Thameslink Railway. It's part of Labour's manifesto pledge to place all passenger services under public control. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Thank you, Bethany. It's fast approaching 7 minutes after 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Still to come, Sir Keir Starmer has been accused of watering down checks on benefit claimants to prevent the welfare system from collapsing. Frankly, what an embarrassment even to admit that under the backlog as the mental health cases increase. Now, I'll be speaking with Conservative Shadow Work and Pension Secretary for her thoughts. And in the interview, joining me, Debbie Arnold, who'll be discussing her life and career, as well as a discussion on Carers Week, which is next week, an annual campaign to raise awareness of the challenges unpaid and paid carers face in their roles. She'll be joining me shortly. And in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, should the BBC be allowed to ban Nigel Farage on Desert Island Discs? The Reform UK leader has accused the broadcaster of being biased after claims that he has been banned from appearing on Desert Island Discs, even though they say he's not. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should they be allowed? All of that is coming up. Send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/you're safe. Sir Keir Starmer has come under fire for watering down, fire and water, all good, checks on benefit claimants as the welfare system continues to balloon under a record backlog of mental health cases. Now, officials are warning that the assessment system is at risk of complete collapse as the surge in new PIP claimants is driving mounting delays, with a record 3.9 million people now claiming the benefit. Well, joining me now is the Shadow Work and Pension Secretary, Helen Wadley. Helen, thank you very much for joining me. I find it absurd that if, for example, a system is overrun, what you would do is then make it easier for more people to claim by relaxing the rules. That doesn't sound right to me.
I completely agree with you on this. What the government is doing is absolutely wrong. We've got a situation where the benefits bill is ballooning. It's going up and up. We're getting hundreds of people signing on for sickness benefits every single week. The bill for that's forecast to increase by £20 billion by the end of this decade. What the government should be doing is getting a grip on that, tightening it up. Instead, they're watering it down. They're reducing the assessments. They're reducing the reviews, going in absolutely the wrong direction. Of course, this has consequences. The consequence is benefit spending will keep on going up, and inevitably we'll see people's taxes keep on going up to pay for that. And all those people who are really struggling to pay the bills, struggling with the level of taxes as it is, going to keep on having to pay more and more because the government doesn't have the courage to reform the welfare system and get a grip of this.
Because I just don't get it. Why would extending the amount of time with which you have to reclaim help to reduce the number of people claiming? So what they're trying to do is save money from employing people to investigate the claims. Wouldn't you want to try and employ more people, especially if you've got a backlog, to investigate the claims and continue with the frequency of this so that you can get people off benefits if they shouldn't be on them? Otherwise, there's a 4-year gap.
Well, exactly. I mean, the government says that the system's going to fall over unless they do this, unless they make there be fewer reviews. But actually, there's two things they should do. One is they should tighten up eligibility and make sure that those who are getting sickness benefits are those who really need them and should be getting them. And then the other thing they should be doing is reviewing people frequently, particularly for those sort of lower level conditions, and making sure that then over time you actually get the number of people claiming sickness benefits benefits coming down rather than as it is going up and up and up. We've said we will do two things. One is we've said that we're going to tighten up the eligibility for sickness benefits and no longer let people be claiming sickness benefits for some of the lower level mental health conditions. These can be a struggle for people, but things like anxiety, milder mental health, ADHD on the neurodiversity spectrum, those cannot be reasons for people to be claiming sickness benefits, and very often on those benefits rather than working, when work is usually actually much better for someone than sitting at home. And the other thing we've said we will do actually is we will invest some money in carrying out more reviews. And in the first 2 years of Conservative government, we would review everybody who's claiming sickness benefits for those reasons to make sure that actually if what people need is support rather than getting a cash handout, they get that support, they're supported to go into work, and we get the benefits bill under control. So we would be getting a grip on this. Meanwhile, the government is watering it down.
Why has it taken Sir Keir Starmer's government, though, so long to get a handle on this, given that he's got this massive majority, something that would be a luxury for any political party, in particular for something that is so clearly out of control?
It is extraordinary, as you say. I mean, I think one of the challenges that Keir Starmer faces is when he was in opposition, he didn't come up with a plan for what he was going to do about welfare. For me, as Shadow Secretary of State, I'm working really hard on the one hand, holding the government to account day to day, pointing out mistakes, dreadful things they're doing like this, and on the other hand, working on what our policies would be come the next election. So we'll be ready with a plan for welfare reform. We've identified £23 billion worth of savings from welfare already. It's all about getting people working rather than on benefits. But they didn't do that hard work in opposition, so they turned up with no plan. The other problem Keir Starmer has is Labour MPs are very resistant to making any savings to the welfare budget. He did attempt to make some last year in Parliament. There was some legislation and it completely fell apart. And actually, literally in the chamber on the day that we were due to vote on this, they turned a savings bill into a spending bill because Labour MPs simply were refusing to back making welfare savings, and it was one of the government's big U-turns. So actually, Starmer's even weaker now. The prospects for him making any welfare savings are extremely bleak.
Yeah, because, I mean, when the Tories left office, I think the welfare bill was about £313 billion. But under the Labour government, they've managed to add a sort of £21 billion on top, which seems extraordinary in such a short space of time. I'm wondering, is the problem more to do with the fact that it's now kind of seen as a way of living because you can actually just claim benefits and actually earn more than somebody who's working? And that is subsequent governments that have created that.
There is a problem that if you combine getting universal credit and sickness benefits, that can get a household a substantial income. Now, clearly, some people are really disabled. They maybe they need that help, but it's happening in much greater numbers now. You've got around 600,000 households who are getting more in benefits than what the average income is of around £32,000. You've got some households getting over £60,000 worth in benefits, which you'd have to be earning over £70,000 to get. So you are now able to get really substantial amounts of money in benefits. So yes, on the one hand, that means that, I mean, I talk to people about this all the time who just say, I don't know why I'm bothering to work. I'm getting emails then about this from people saying, no, I've looked at the benefits calculator and here I am working and paying my taxes. If I was just claiming benefits, I'd actually be better off. So that is a really, really big problem. We do have on the other side, we've clearly got a generation of young people who went through the pandemic and are very worried about their mental health. But the answer simply cannot be for them to go on to sickness benefits, which unfortunately means they're really unlikely to go into work. It's the worst answer. Yeah. What we need to be doing is supporting this generation to get into work.
Yeah, I agree. Worst answer, putting somebody who's got a mental health issue in a room where they can ruminate, where they can just sit there, eat food and watch TV. That doesn't really cut it for me. Helen Whatley, thank you very much. Is it Whatley or Waitley?
Actually, it's Waitley, but I don't mind at all. It's all right.
Well, there you go. Now I know. Thank you very much. Helen Waitley. Thank you very much. She's the Shadow Work and Pension Secretary. All right, well, what do you think? gbnews.com/your say. Do you think that really truly, it's kind of a betrayal to the taxpayer, isn't it? That you can actually earn more in benefits than you can if you go to work and pay tax. gbnews.com/your say. But now the former Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has urged Labour to increase oil and gas drilling in the North Sea. Mr Streeting's comments put him at the odds with the official government policy last year. Interesting, though. I mean, do you believe what he's saying? Labour introduced a temporary ban on new drilling licences. Mr Streeting has told the Sunday Times that we do not have to take climate change globally. We'll read that afterwards. Shall I bring in my panel first? Why not? Let's bring in the panel. Joining me now, designer and businessman Jeff Banks and former Labour Minister and MP Bill Rammell. All right, so Wes Streeting, I'm afraid I don't believe him. I don't believe him when he's talking about new oil and gas licences, because that's what he's saying that he would support. Yet this is the first time he's mentioned it. A lot of people won't believe him. The Labour Party have been quite staunch about not doing that. So why is he saying it now?
Well, because he's no longer bound by collective cabinet responsibility, because he's no longer in the cabinet. Look, I'm a fan of Wes. He would actually be my pick to be the next Prime Minister. However, on this, I actually think he's wrong. You know, oil and gas are going to be in the mix for decades. There are two licences that are with the Secretary of State at the moment. I think they're likely to be allowed. But beyond that, one, it's diminishing returns. There's only about 10% supply left in the North Sea. And two, even if you started awarding new licences, it would do nothing for supply, and more importantly, it would do nothing in terms of reducing energy prices.
Why would it do nothing for supply? I'm confused. You mean right now?
Yeah, because, and it's complicated, it's because we don't have the oil refinery capacity in this country, a bit like your argument about deindustrialisation, Jeff, but, you know, it takes an awful number of years to put that right, and therefore...
But isn't that the government's job to do things that may take time?
Yeah, but
to set them up so that we have the facilities?
Not in any time soon. And therefore, if you did bring new supply on stream, it would be exported elsewhere in the world. Much more important is to increase renewables and this is the bit that Jeff and I, we've been talking about, agree on, increase nuclear capacity. Because if you take France as the example, you know, they've got much lower energy bills, in major part because they bit the bullet a long time ago on nuclear energy.
But isn't that your argument for not drilling for new oil and gas? Your argument is that it will take time and all this. Well, had we done the nuclear thing, even though it would have taken time, we wouldn't be where we are now. So surely, you know, you've just proved that it is wise to invest now, even if it takes time.
But given the diminishing returns in the North Sea, and there's only 10% capacity left, I don't think it would be worth the investment. But nuclear, most certainly, and something this government has done, is for the first time in ages started approving new nuclear power, and I think that's a good thing.
All right, let me just tell you what Wes Streeting told the Sunday Times. He said that we do not have to take climate change globally much more. Sorry, I'll read that again. We do have to take. See, because he keeps changing my mind, so am I. We do have to take climate change globally much more seriously and go aggressively towards more renewable energy, he said. But there's sometimes a danger of Britain wanting to lead the world. We cut off our own nose to spite our face without contributing to the greater whole. Do you believe that he's actually genuine about that? Bill says it's collective responsibility. He's not bound by that. He's not in the cabinet, which is why he's saying that now.
I'm not a big fan of Wes Streeting. I think he's an opportunist. I think he went to Cambridge. Bright lad, never done a proper job, written a few papers for the Labour Party, and then he thinks he can be Prime Minister. So I think he's now skating around, trying to get himself in the race to actually be the next Labour of the Labour Party, and by virtue, our next Prime Minister. So he's doing anything he can to actually appease everybody. Suddenly, yes, we should drill in the North Sea. I completely agree with that. I think we should be issuing more licences. I think INEOS, that were actually refining in Aberdeen, they've actually moved a lot of their business to America. We want to get that back. It was a big industry in Aberdeen. The previous government, the Tories and the Labour Party, have actually wrecked it. I agree with Bill. France have got 75 nuclear plants. We've got 5. We've approved 1 recently, and the one that we're building is now 2 years overdue. Nuclear is the way of the future. Renewables, I think, represent the truth of it is only about 15% of what we need. So I think we are currently importing gas from Norway that is actually being drilled next to us in the North Sea. We're importing electricity from France. We've got a rate of electricity which is 26p a watt, as distinct from France at 16p a watt, and it's why our industries are being crippled and we can't actually see the light of day. So somebody like Wes Streeting is maybe telling the truth, but I think he's doing it opportunistically.
But Jeff, in terms of renewables, you and I have been arguing about this. Currently, 52.5% of our energy supplies are from renewables, and that's risen significantly, and it can rise further. But you need other things in the mix. And oil and gas will continue to be for decades, but nuclear is a key part of the solution.
I disagree with that.
And it's the first...
Well, I know... You can't tell me that 52% of our energy comes from windmills and solar across this country.
But Jeff, I showed you on my phone the Google research, and I urge any of your viewers to Google the figure, and it's 52.5%.
Do I have to believe it? The answer's no.
Well, then we don't believe evidence.
I've just got to drive around the country and see the number of windmills that are operating, and there's no way that we can be getting 50% of our energy, half of our energy, from renewables. Absolutely no way.
Well, it's
with my own eyes.
Well, it's also costing us an absolute fortune to sustain it, so that we can then get that tiny bit of energy out of it.
Well, it's cheaper.
Well, no, it's not cheaper, Bill. You know that's not
It's
true.
cheaper than oil and gas.
Yeah, no, it's not cheaper than oil and gas. You haven't factored in anything. No, it's not true. Without the subsidies. Right, coming up next to the Great British Debate this hour, I'm discussing whether the BBC has a bias problem against Nigel Farage, Reform UK's leader. You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, Jeff Banks and Bill Rummel. Do not go anywhere.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
24 minutes after 5 o'clock. If you just tuned in, where have you been? We start at 3. Yeah, all right, that's the excuse. Oh, what, you got trapped in the traffic with the Arsenal bus? Fair enough. I'm Nana Akua. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. You can also stream the show live on YouTube or download the GB News app. But it's time now for the Great British Debate, and I'm asking, does the BBC have a bias problem against Nigel Farage? A new biography of the Reform UK leader claims that he will never be invited onto the iconic Radio 4 show Desert Island Discs. The book says that Mr Farage's presence would make BBC staff feel unsafe. It also states that the corporation will be scaring off other potential guests if he appears. So for the Great British Debate, I'm asking, do they have a bias problem against Nigel Farage? What do you think? Joining me now, designer and businessman Jeff Banks and former Labour Minister and MP Bill Rammell. I'll come to you, Jeff Banks. You've worked for the BBC. You had the clothes show and all sorts. Do you think they've got a problem?
First of all, I'd like to say, would I be particularly interested in what Nigel's music choice is? And I have to say, not particularly. So having said that, do I think the BBC is hugely biased? Absolutely. I've stopped listening to them now for the last 3 years. I refuse to watch anything on television. I refuse to listen to their radio simply because of that bias and what they express with everything. So I think the institution is no longer fit for purpose. I don't understand, with 20,000 people in their employ, the programmes that they once upon a time used to create were fantastic. Yeah. Now I find them hugely biased. I find anything that they do in interviews full of gotcha questions. So they do everything they can to undermine an opinion that doesn't actually fit with their narrative. So for me,
they might argue they've had Nigel Farage on many, many times. A lot, actually, more than many politicians.
Well, they may have had him on different programmes. I think I've seen Laura Kunsberg on replay trying to catch him, and she didn't do a very good job of that. So I think they probably find him an embarrassment because he keeps calling them out, and I don't blame him for that. So I think we have an institution which is past its sell-by date. I don't think it's unbiased. I don't think it's a good example of public service broadcasting, and that's why their numbers are dipping. It's why 1.6 million people are now refusing to buy a licence.
Well, you had a whole issue with that, didn't you, a little while ago?
I had an argument with the BBC because they were harassing me, sending me threatening letters, and I managed to stop that, but that's still continuing. And the harassment is now increasing with ordinary people into them being forced, vulnerable people, into buying a licence, which is unnecessary.
Well, it is the law, though, I must say. Bill Rammell.
Well, I actually disagree, Jeff. I mean, I think the BBC is probably one of the best public service broadcasters in the world, and I think we'd regret it if it was gone. But does the BBC, and this story relates to Desert Island Discs, does it have an issue with Farage? I think it maybe does. It should not have. And generally, if you look at the track record of Desert Island Discs, they've had people like Margaret Thatcher, Boris Johnson, Kemi Badenoch a few weeks ago on the programme, David Davis. So they haven't had a problem with people from the right of politics appearing on it. And I'm actually a passionate believer in free speech. When I was Higher Education Minister, I argued in favour of the Oxford Union being able to invite Nick Griffin of the BNP to debate, because I think, people need to be exposed to all sides of the argument and debate it. And in respect of this, the BBC has denied that it's effectively blacklisting Farage. But what does worry me, and I think generally the BBC is unbiased, but there are too many troubling instances of some BBC staff appearing to lobby the BBC over the content of programmes, and that needs to stop, and I hope very much that the new Director General is going to get to the bottom of that.
All right, well, let's speak to our Great British Voice, because this is nothing without you and your views. Let's welcome our Great British Voice, their opportunity to be on the show and tell us what they think about the topics we're discussing. And let's go to Hull, speak to Dan Bryan. I wonder if he's wearing his hat. No hat. Dan, what do you think? Do you think the BBC, A, have a big bias towards Nigel Farage, and B, are biased?
Well, yeah, I mean, not particularly just Nigel Farage, but they are completely and utterly biased. And that is one of the reasons I don't buy a BBC licence, because you can list your reasons why, and they are completely biased towards their own agenda. And that was never more evident than during the Brexit referendum, and also the propaganda they pumped out during COVID, which was absolutely diabolical, like instilling fear into the public more than what was needed. And thirdly, they have a royal charter, and by being biased, they are breaking their agreement with the British public, because they are supposed to be completely impartial, and they're not. And
Well, they would say,
never
Dan,
been more
that
evident.
but aren't you breaking the law by not buying a licence if you watch the BBC or you don't consume any BBC or live TV?
No,
You must-
I don't.
Are you
I
watching?
don't.
You're obviously watching this on a phone.
Yes.
Oh, just checking.
Yeah. I'm not
That's what I
breaking the
thought.
law.
Good.
No.
That's good. We don't want that. We don't want that. Dan
Well,
Brown.
not that law anyway.
No. Oh, to say no more, Dan Brown. We must leave it there. Dan Brown in Hull without the hat. Thank you very much. Well, a BBC spokesperson told GB News we do not ban any individuals from appearing on desert island discs, and that includes Nigel Farage. All right, well, stay with me. 31 minutes after 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. Coming up next, the interview. I'll be speaking with actress Debbie Arnold, who will be discussing her life and career, as well as the discussion on Carers Week, which is an annual campaign to raise awareness of the challenges that unpaid and paid carers face. She'll be joining me very shortly. First, though, your latest news live with Bethany Elsey.
The headlines from the GB newsroom. North London has been painted red as thousands of Arsenal fans line the streets to celebrate their club's first Premier League win since 2004. Meanwhile, more than 200 people have been injured and hundreds more arrested in clashes between fans and police across Paris after the Champions League final. Nicola Sturgeon has said she's serving a sentence for a crime she didn't commit after her estranged husband admitted embezzling £400,000 from the SNP. In an interview with the BBC, the former SNP leader refused to apologise for the scandal. Sir Keir Starmer has been criticised for watering down checks on benefit claimants amid a record backlog of mental health cases. The number of people claiming personal independence payment is now costing taxpayers £26 billion a year. And hundreds of trains will be cancelled this summer as Britain's biggest train company, Thameslink, is taken under government control. You're up to date for now. I'll have more for you at 6 o'clock.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Hello, here's your latest weather update for the Met Office for GB News. The weather looks rather more unsettled, I'm afraid, across the UK over the coming week. We'll all start to see some outbreaks of rain at times and temperatures returning to the seasonal average. The pressure pattern sets the scene quite nicely. Low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK, starting to feed our area in from the west and southwest now, and that breeze introducing cooler temperatures too. As we go through the evening into the overnight period, the showers that developed across the south and east of the UK today will tend to fade away, so many southern and eastern spots get away with a dry night, some clear spells at times, whereas towards the north and west, notice showers give way to some more persistent outbreaks of rain, some of that turning quite heavy, particularly across Northern Ireland, Western England and parts of Wales by the morning on Monday. Quite a mild night to come though, and generally frost-free too, temperatures widely holding up in double figures. As for the start of the new working week then, well, Monday will start quite wet across much of mainland Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain in places here. Although notice towards the Northern Isles at this stage, still some clearer, brighter weather around. Just a few showers to contend with to start Monday. Across Northern Ireland, some showery outbreaks of rain, and certainly across western parts of England into Wales, some quite heavy bursts of rain developing here as we go into the morning. Could give one or two local flooding issues, I think, in places. Towards the southeast at this stage, still quite bright, and I think it's the southeast of the UK that will generally hold on to the best of the weather through Monday. The sunshine gradually turning more hazy as we go into the afternoon. Whereas across northern and western areas, outbreaks of rain, again, turning quite heavy in places, particularly across western England into parts of Wales. Again, there could be one or two flooding issues into Monday afternoon. Whereas towards Northern Ireland, starting to turn brighter and more showery here. Still quite warm in the southeast in that sunshine, up to 23, possibly 24 Celsius, but nearer the high teens towards the northwest of the UK. As we go into the evening on Monday, those outbreaks of rain continue their journey eastwards. So I think we'll all see a pretty wet end to the day, but notice towards the northwest into the overnight period turning clearer and more showery. Quite a showery day across the UK on Tuesday, some more persistent rain on Wednesday, giving way again to sunshine and showers on Thursday.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon and welcome to GB News. It's 36 minutes after 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. And it's time now for this week's interview. And this week it is with actress Debbie Arnold. Now, Debbie is a campaigner and at the moment she's promoting Carers Week 2026, which is next week. It's an annual campaign to raise awareness of the challenges unpaid and paid carers face in their roles. I'm pleased to say that Debbie joins me in the studio. Debbie, nice to see you.
It's very grown up, isn't it?
You look very nice.
Yes, we're friends. That's what's nice.
you don't look like a floating head on the sofa. That's fine, because your dress matches it.
You've said it. You've said it. I forgot the sofas were red. But at least
you look fabulous.
Yes. She just said before that I was a floating boob. I didn't like that. Or a pair of boobs. Please. We're here to talk about something very serious.
No, it is very serious. Now, talk to me about why you got involved in this. What's your interest in this particular area?
Well, the thing is, I don't know. I honestly had no connection with carers at all. I just didn't really know what they did. I thought they were employed by the NHS, as I'm sure most people do. And then I met a friend of mine, one of my guy that I used to go out with many years ago had a stroke, and there was a carer that was working for him who has become a friend of mine, and he was telling me the plight of the carers, and I was gobsmacked. Yeah. Absolutely gobsmacked, because they earn bare minimum. I mean, they're on minimum wage, on no contracts, on zero contract. They have no fallback at all if they're not well, if they have mental health problems, if the job gets too much for them, if they need counselling. They have no fallback on anything. So if they don't work for 2 weeks, they don't get paid. And I mean, and some of them are working 60 hours a week just to keep the roof over their heads. And some of them are going to food banks because they can't afford to feed themselves. And I thought, well, this is completely and utterly crackers.
It is.
We need to care for the people who care for us.
Do you think the government are actually, in a sense, taking advantage of people's loyalty and love to their loved one, of course, because if there's something wrong or somebody needs to look after your loved one, if you're the closest thing to them, you will do it without any questions asked?
You as a person, but if you're a paid carer, you employ an agency or whatever to get the right person to you, and when they arrive, you have no idea that they can hardly feed themselves. I mean, it's crackers, and these are professional people. They have to give medication. They do end-of-life care. They do personal care. They are angels. And yet we treat them like nothing. You get more money stacking shelves in Sainsbury's.
It's absolutely shocking. What would you like to see the government do?
Well, I mean, the thing is that it's because they are not employed by the NHS. They actually get their money from all the local councils. So this is where I get confused. Perhaps you could help me here. It's where I get confused. So who does that mean? Where does that money come from? Does that come from the government? Well,
I think it comes out of partly out of council tax and the money that the council receive.
Yeah.
So social care, a lot of the social care budget comes from the council, so that side of things. And so that's why it ends up being a bit of a lottery as to how much is spent on it. So it's not a direct government thing. It comes from the social care budget, which is why some councils might pay out more, others might pay out less. But it just means it's a huge burden on what comes in to the council.
Right.
And they have to spend such a large amount on it.
Yes. So the large amount goes on. It actually goes to agencies, which, you know, they have to make money too. But then I suppose they get paid per carer. But then, if that happens, then the carer gets, you know, they get bare minimum. And the other thing is, you know, if say you've been a carer for 5 years, you've done all of this training, because they have to, every year they have to keep on retraining for things. You are then given a younger or a more inexperienced carer to look after who's just started. You are only going to be earning 4p an hour more.
I mean, it's just astonishing, isn't it? And it's almost as though... so these people sort of get a bit forgotten in the system, because I guess if you're looking after somebody, your loved one, you're going to have to give up your job or whatever it was that you were doing before that if you were working.
Yeah.
And then in exchange for very small handouts from the government to care for somebody.
Yeah. If
you're unpaid. So these are the unpaid carers. But then the paid carers are paid so little.
Yeah. But the unpaid carers, if you're looking after a carer in your own home, if it's your mum or your dad or one of your kids or something, they pay you £600 a month. I mean, it's crackers. So that's where the Care Workers Charity comes in, because they actually give grants, they help people out. I think they've given millions and millions away since they started. And a lot of carers... none don't even know about this charity. Yeah. They always think, well, there's nowhere to go. But there is somewhere to go.
Which charity?
This is the Care Workers Charity.
OK.
And it's the only charity in the UK that looks after care workers. So it gives them grants. People don't know about it. So if you are a carer, you can go to these people. If you need money, if you can't afford to pay your bills, if you can't afford to get your car fixed, if you can't afford your, you know, food, they will help you. And I mean, it's such a brilliant organisation, and I'm so proud to be part of it.
Right. And, of course, this week, so, of course, it is this week, National Carers Week. It starts... actually, no, it's from the 8th to the 14th of June.
Yes.
So it's the following week.
So we're premature.
We're premature, but it's good because it's going to be focusing on carer-friendly communities, which is obviously supporting those who are caring for others, whether you're paid or unpaid, but also giving them resource. So if you are a carer, you can download and find out more information about how you can best help yourself, and also if there are any government initiatives that can help people who care. Because I'm sure a lot of people listening and watching now may be paid or unpaid carers.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, being a paid carer, you know, people think it's a vocation, and it is a vocation, but why aren't they treated as professionals?
I don't get it.
You know, if you have to have medication and treat people with medication, you've got to know so much about so many things. And also you've got to go in there, you know, you take it home with you, don't you, when you've seen so many different people during the day.
Well, look, Debbie, if people want to find out more about this and the charity, where can they go?
It's the careworkerscharity.org, so you can just find it online. And I think, have you got a video that we're going to watch?
Where's the video? We've got our video up there. Let's see if we can watch the video. I'll see. Do we have a video? There should be a video.
There is. I sent you lots of videos.
We've got some nice little graphics to show people of a lot of the carers and stuff like that, so we can maybe show some of those, maybe. Let's see if we get that done. No? No.
No.
Here we go. So here we got something here.
Yeah.
This is Sabrina. She's one of the care workers. Now, the process was not easy, and was so easy and respectful. I felt heard and supported. So this is
that's
CWC,
why the Care Workers Charity, because they, you know, they give you an ear, if you like. You can go to them, you can say, this isn't happening, that's not happening. You know, God forbid you break your leg and you can't work for 3 weeks. You know, how are you going to pay your bills?
People think it's just really young people, but actually just really old people. But on the screen we've now got Canna. We'd been sharing a bedroom. I wanted to give my children their own space, but I just couldn't see how I'd manage it. Bless.
Yeah. The other thing is, Nana, they don't get... You know, so when they work, they go from one place to another. And that maybe take half an hour to get from one place to another. They don't get paid for that either.
No. So, something needs to happen. Make sure people need to get involved on Carers Week. It starts not this week, but next week. Yeah. Running until the 15th.
And to give money to the Care Workers Charity or to do something, but go to your local MP. That's what I think. Yeah. You know, we need to raise awareness. We've got to look after the people who look after us.
And just finally, Debbie, what are you up to these days then? Because you're an ambassador for this charity.
Yes.
Are you doing pantomime or anything like that? You're always doing something.
I'm going to make you laugh now.
Go on, please.
I am doing a summer pantomime with Jim Davidson.
Oh, wonderful.
In Wimborne.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Playing a fairy godmother.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's going to be very rude, I'm afraid.
Not for daytime TV. It doesn't surprise me with Jim Davidson.
Yeah, and I'm working with Jim a lot, so I know we all love Jim. Yeah. Last time I saw you was with...
At his 50 years of showbiz.
50 years of showbiz,
quite incredible.
We were there, yeah.
Well, Debbie Arnold, it's such a pleasure. You didn't disappear in the sofas. You look fabulous as
Thank
ever.
you.
And what's the name of the pantomime, just in case people want to go and see it?
It's...
Why have I asked?
Yes, why did you ask? It's Big Dick Whittington.
OK, that's fine. I think
is that all right?
His name's Richard, so... Yeah. Shortened version. Thank you very much, Debbie Arnold. Really good to talk to you. All right, well, stay with us. It's 45 minutes after 5 o'clock. Stay tuned, loads more still to come, but if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
If you're heading away, well, it's a mixed picture across Europe. We've got cloudy conditions across the Canary Islands, some showers in the Alps and some sunny spells elsewhere. So across Madeira and the Canaries, a cloudy theme on Monday. Best of the sunshine across Portugal, France and Spain. But to the north, that's where we'll see some showers, perhaps some longer spells of rain. But across Greece, further towards the south, that's where we'll see some sunny conditions, highs of up to 25 degrees. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's a Lancaster, the mightiest aerial engine of destruction ever conceived and built.
It's one of the most famous aircraft in the world. During World War II, Lancaster bombers filled the skies of Lincolnshire as they completed missions across Europe and further afield. Over the last few years, GB News has followed the Bomber County Gateway Trust and their mission to immortalise this iconic plane for centuries to come. 8 years after the idea was born, members of the public have been given a glimpse of the sculpture on Freedom's wings up close for the first time. GB News viewers helped raise thousands of pounds for the project, which was led by the Trust's chairman, Charlie White.
I'm really, really pleased. You know, it's been one of these things that, like I say, for the last 8 years we've been working on. And to sort of finally get it up and sort of here today, so sort of have a dedication for it, yeah, it's so special. The idea when we sort of put it up here 8 years ago was that people could drive down the side of the A46 and see it and just make them smile, you know, welcome home to Lincolnshire or welcome back into Nottinghamshire. We think it's, you know, it's an over £1 million project with sort of over £500,000 raised, sort of public donations and sponsorship. It's people that have come along and wanted to help. They have some connection with the military or the RAF and they just wanted to be part of it.
The design is based on Lancaster VNN, which crashed on its return to RAF Swinderby in September 1942 after both portside engines failed. Weighing more than 100 tonnes and taller than the Angel of the North, this sculpture welcomes people into Bomber County. This site will officially open for visitors later in the summer, inspiring future generations and ensuring we don't forget the sacrifices of Bomber Command.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, Parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon and welcome to GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. It's 10 minutes to 6, but at 7 o'clock this evening it is Free Speech Nation with Josh Howie. He joins me now. Josh, looking forward to the show tonight. What's coming up?
Well, we ask, is this the week that the UK capitulated to Islam? I am joined by Lord Toby Young from the Free Speech Union. Also, we have Francis Foster from the very successful Trigonometry podcast, and he's going to be talking about his ex-job as a teacher and whether education can be fixed. And also, we have the legend in the studio, Kelly J. Keane. She is here, and she has a few words for Piers Morgan. You do not want to miss it. It's going to be a fantastic show. See you at 7 o'clock.
I look forward to that, Josh Howie. Thank you very much. Right now, though, it is time for Supplement Sunday, the part of the show where my channel bring in other stories that they've seen during the week. Joining me now, designer and businessman Jeff Banks, and also former Labour minister, and MP. I keep wanting to call him an advisor. He's not. He was a former Labour minister and MP.
I'm happy to
Bill
advise you.
All right, who wants to go first? Should we go with you, Bill Ramble? Let's start with you. What you got?
Mine is a story in the Mail on Sunday today, and the headline is "Men and Women Even Dream Differently."
Really?
And it's written up that women's dreams are predominantly drawn to family and relationships, and men's dreams are predominantly drawn to competition and risk. Well, firstly, I think a woman wrote that headline. But secondly, it's based on 4,000 dreams with 200 or 300 people, men and women, being interviewed. It's not unknown for men to lie
Yeah,
to
you know
questions
what I mean?
like that.
Yeah, I dreamt that I was in a competition and I won this. Ego, no, that's kind of true, isn't it?
But, you know, men and women are different, you know,
They
vive
are.
la différence.
Yeah, you can't put on a wig and lipstick and
Right.
say you're a woman. It doesn't work. What about you, Jeff Banks?
Mine's slightly fashion-related,
Okay,
as you would imagine.
well,
So
of course.
Karl Lagerfeld, bless him, had a cat called Chaputa, which was this white cat, and he left $1.5 million to the cat in its will. And now there's a rumour that the cat has gone bankrupt.
What?
And it's now having to be looked after by Carl's old housekeeper, and she's actually complaining that the money never came through, and she's having to look after the cat and do extra work to finance looking after the cat. Now, I've got 2 white cats, and they cost me about £2 a day, so I don't know what extra work she's having to do to support Tibble. So, anyway, Chaputa is now living in a council flat in Paris and used to living the high life in Carl's £10 million apartment.
Oh, that's hilarious. But how do you
I think, hey, it's a catastrophe.
Very good.
Do you know, my brain's just caught up with Karl Lagerfeld.
Oh, really?
Because I was thinking of Blofeld from the Bond movies, but now I get the reference to fashion.
He was a bit like that, actually, Karl Lagerfeld. He was very heavy going. Yeah.
Did you meet Karl Lagerfeld?
I did. I interviewed him many times, and he was like a difficult character to interview because, like, whenever you challenged him on anything, in this very strong German voice, he'd shout you down to try and win over on you. But I wasn't having any of it. So yeah. Anyway,
Very
that's Karl.
interesting. Karl Lagerfeld.
Karl
Interesting,
Lagerfeld,
interesting. Very interesting. Well, what do you think? Right, let's see. Now, we've got a question, because this afternoon I have been asking, is it irresponsible for Keir Starmer to make it easier to claim benefits? And the results are in. 90% 97% of you say yes, he is. Yes, it is responsible. Of course it is. And only 3% of you say no. Yeah, I do believe you should make it easy-ish, but not easier. Remember, you can vote on GB News You Decide polls for free. You can scan the QR code. But I've got to say a huge thank you to my panel, designer and businessman Jeff Banks. Jeff Banks, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also, former Labour Minister and MP Bill Rammell. And a huge thank you to you at home for your company. It's been a pleasure, as ever. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. But first, the weather. Enjoy.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.